As usual, we are gathered here today to listen to another exposition of the Lord Buddha's teaching. Before we commence this sermon, let us all remind ourselves of how grateful we ought to be, how fortunate we are to be in the presence of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the Triple Gem. Let us remind ourselves that it is because of the infinitely compassionate One, the perfectly enlightened One, the omniscient One, the magnificent One, the infinitely virtuous One, that we have the gift of Dhamma today. If not for His dedication, His commitment towards the liberation of all sentient beings, none of us would be here today. None of us would have the path to our salvation today. We would just be lost in samsara, like we have always been. Bearing in mind this truth, this fact, let us all take a moment to pay homage to the supremely enlightened Gautama Lord Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. And also, before we commence the sermon, let us all take a moment to observe the precepts, reminding once again that we keep finding ourselves in this situation where we are having to renew the vows that we promised to abide by, promised to none other but ourselves. There may have been instances throughout the week gone by during which you have succumbed to the defilements of raga, dvesha, moha in your mind, and having thus broken the very precepts you vow to abide by. However, in the hope, prayer, determination and resolve that may this have to be the last time I have to observe these precepts, may the virtue entailed within these precepts be part and parcel of my conscience, be part of the very fabric of who I am. Let us all take a moment to observe the precepts, and in order to do so, I ask you all to repeat all together and after me. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami, Sarana-gamanang sampunnang, Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami, Suramere majjapama datthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhim panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakkhitang katva appamadena sampadetabang. Okay, you may now all be seated. Most venerable members of the Mahasangha, distinguished gathering, those who are present here in front of me as well as those who are joining us online. Before we commence this sermon, let us all take a moment to invite all the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead to join us, wherever they may be in these 10,000 world systems. Let us make use of this opportunity to repay all those debts that we owe them, every man, woman and child and every soul out there who might have helped us, supported us, assisted us in numerous ways throughout this infinitely long journey in samsara. Whatever debts we owe them, we are today in possession of the greatest gift that can ever be passed on to someone, and that is the gift of Dhamma. So let us take this opportunity to invite them to join us, enable them to witness this meritorious deed, and if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, may these merits that they acquire help them to redeem themselves from those woeful plains and be born in the blissful plains. And for all beings in the blissful plains, may they be able to listen to this teaching, understand it, comprehend it, and be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with that hope in mind, as I now make this invitation, I ask you all to extend this invitation out in your hearts and in minds, out to all those beings, all those who have predeceased you, all your ancestors, whether you know them by name or not, the thought is what counts. Extend it freely and as far as you possibly can. May they be able to join us. May they be able to witness this meritorious deed. May they be able to receive the Buddha's teaching and be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Sadhamang Munirajasansa Sunantu Saggamokkhadang Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhamma Savana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta. Let us all also take a moment to look back into our own lives in this very birth. Just consider for a moment the person you were before this Dhamma touched your life. And now consider the temperament that you must all have had, we must all have had in this infinitely long journey in samsara. Not having had the opportunity to associate with noble people, moral people, where virtually all our associations were with ignoble, immoral men. And those associations defiled our minds with desire, aversion and delusion, raga, dvesha, moha. And having been blinded with ignorance and attachment, that is avidya and tanha, Innumerable and countless will be the times we will have offended the Supreme Buddhas, the Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagami, Sakrudagami, Sotapannas, be they on the path or having attained the fruits, as well as the Buddha's ministry, the Sambuddha Shasana. Any thoughts, words, or actions, either knowingly or unknowingly, of revile, slander, that we might have directed at them, may today block and hinder our progress in the Dhamma. So therefore, before we begin this sermon, let us all take a moment to have humility in our minds, with humbleness in our hearts, to take a moment to accept that this is who we were, to accept that there were errors in our ways, and seek forgiveness from the Noble Ones for any words, thoughts, or actions of desecration that we might have directed at them. And finally, let us all make a firm resolve that may, through the course of this sermon, for those of you who are yet to achieve the noble attainment of Sotapanna, may this discourse help you to do that. May, through the course of this sermon, you be able to fulfill any gaps in your understanding, in your knowledge, in your comprehension, which have thus far kept you from achieving that noble attainment. And if there are any among you who have already attained the state of Sotapanna, then may, through the course of this sermon, you be able to fulfill the subsequent stages and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. So with that firm resolve and determination in mind, I invite you all to prepare yourselves to listen to this sermon. Okay. Okay. From time to time, I need you all to ask yourselves a question. This is a very important question. The answer to this question should help you decide whether really you frequent this monastery or not. Whether this is the place where you should be spending your Sunday afternoons or not. So I want you all to answer this question. From time to time, it's good to always, maybe write it down somewhere. Every third Sunday, ask yourself, before you get on that bus, before the wheels on the bus go round, 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 before you get on the bus, ask yourself the question. Here's the question. What are you here to achieve? I need you all to ask yourself that question. Because we don't have much to offer here. Frankly. We don't have a lot of things to offer. We are not a multi-store. We are not a department store where you can walk in and there's a furniture section, there's a grocery section, there's a hairdressers in the ground floor, glassware on the top floor, there's a delicatessen on the middle floor. We don't have any of that stuff here. We only have one thing and one thing alone to offer. Do you know what that is? It is the peace of mind that we all enjoy today. That is what we have to offer. Peace of mind. To be at peace. to be happy, to be without any worry, to be fearless. All of these things are really just the same thing. I'm just spouting synonyms at you. All we have to offer here is peace of mind. So before you get on the bus, have it in your diary, maybe every third Sunday, every fourth Sunday, every fifth Sunday. When you get to that day on the week, in the calendar, ask yourself the question, why am I getting on that bus today? Have I become a creature of habit? Because humans are creatures of habit, aren't we? Once we pick up a habit, it's really difficult to break it. If you're coming here out of habit, you're coming to the wrong place out of habit. If you're coming here because there's a bus that comes this way, well, there's a bus that also goes towards Angoda. That's been running longer than this bus has. So it's a well-seasoned track, and the bus driver is very au fait with the route. So if you want a safe journey, where the driver can actually take you there blindfolded, rather than getting on the bus to the monastery, there's another option there. So you have to ask yourself this question: why are you coming here? And this is not in any way a criticism or telling anyone off. I don't want you to think of it that way. But it's an important decision to make. Ultimately, just think about it, right? If you come here every Sunday, weekend, most of you also come on a Saturday. So that's an entire weekend spent here. That's 2 days a week. A week has only 7 days. 2 days of that here, and some of you even come on a Wednesday. That's 3 days a week. That's almost half your week. If you have the time, you travel. That's a lot of time. A lot of times in life, we are so free and willing to give our time without thinking twice about, are we investing our time in the right place? We think a lot more about money than we think about our time. Don't you think so? Before someone spends an amount of money, they will think twice, 3 times, 4 times over. Am I spending my money in the right place? Can I trust this guy? Is this a right investment to make? Is this going to be profitable? Is this a lucrative business? People always ask these questions. But they're so free and willing in terms of spending their time. So you see, what I'm asking you to do is something you ought to be doing all the time. Even when you come here. Because I know that a lot of you spend a lot of time at this monastery. A lot of you spend a lot of time listening to the Dhamma that we preach at this monastery. So I need you all to ask yourself the question, what is your purpose? Why are you doing this? Why are you coming here? What are you hoping to achieve? Because ultimately we only have one thing to offer. Is that what you want? You have to ask yourself that question. Is what you want what we have to offer? Because if what you want is not what we are offering, then you've got to look elsewhere. Because I can tell you one thing, what we are offering is not going to change. It's all we are ever going to offer. So that's not going to change. So you have to make sure that what you're coming here is for the right reason. You're coming here to pick up the right product. We are not a multi-store, and we're not a department store. We don't stock a lot of things here, we just have one thing. Hopefully it's never going to run out of stock, but there's only one thing to offer. Because I don't want anyone wasting their time. I don't waste my time. I don't want any of you wasting your time. Right? Seriously ask yourself, how dedicated are you towards this newfound purpose? Because turning up alone is not going to do the job. Remember that. I always keep telling you, I can only give you what percent? What percent? 20. I can only give you 20. So 4 times that you got to do by yourself. That's a whopping 80%. It's not like half and half. It's not like I give you half, you give half, right? Let's get into business. It's not like that. I give you 20, you give 80. This is one of those things, the more you put in, the more you get out. I think goes for pretty much everything in life. The more you put in, the more you get out. But that 80% is really, really, really important. I think pretty soon I'm going to start asking you, are you doing the 80%? I'm going to start giving you some metrics, some KPIs to measure yourselves. Are you not here to perform? What's the point otherwise, right? Because I think it's safe for me to make the assumption that you're all successful people in life. In whatever areas, whatever fields, whatever avenues, whatever walks of life you have chosen to travel in, I think it's fair to say you have all achieved some level of success. Levels of success that a lot of people could only dream of. And I think it's also safe to assume that whatever level of success you have achieved in your life, you didn't achieve by sitting on your bottom all day, looking up at the sky, counting sheep. No. Whatever level of success you have achieved in whichever area in life, you did so by setting yourselves goals, having a vision, having an ambition, and then working towards it. Working towards it, laboring. I'm asking yourself, is labor the equity of your life? Now, labor has various interpretations. You think of labor department, that's a different type of labor. I'm talking about, are you doing the things you ought to do to get you where you need to be? Because listening to these sermons is a very small portion of it. Yes, it's the catalyst. Yes, these sermons are what's going to get you on the right track, but once you're on the right track, all we keep doing is encouraging you. That's what we'll keep doing. We can motivate you. But I must be careful that I only motivate a wise man. Because what happens if you motivate a fool? Then you have a motivated idiot. Have you heard of Kalua, who went to Marapan? It's a Sinhala adage. It's an old Sinhalese adage. There's this guy called Kalua. Okay, Rob. For those of you English speakers. One day, the guy called up, "Hey Rob, I need you to go on a journey for me. I need you to run an errand for me." The next thing you know, the guy's gone. "Hey Rob." Yeah, what? Where did you just go? "Oh, you said you wanted me to run an errand." "Yeah? So I went." "What did I ask you to do?" "Oh yeah, I forgot to ask." So listen carefully then. I need you to go find Jack. The next thing you know, he's gone. "Oi, come back." And he comes back panting again. "Where did you go?" "I went to see Jack." "Why?" "Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you. Why?" "I need you to go find Jack and tell him," and he's gone. So this is Kaluwa. Don't be like that. Don't be like that. Have purpose. Have a vision. Have ambitions. Have goals. We talk about children all the time, and we talk about parents, and we instruct them and share our very personal and heartfelt sentiments about some of the things you ought to start doing with your children. And for the adults, I asked you to do some things at home to structure your progress to the through to Nibbana. Think about it. If you need a plan to become a doctor, if you need a plan to get high grades at school, if you need a plan to start a business, which is called a business plan, how come you don't need a plan to attain Nirvana, which is the hardest thing there is to do? How come? You need a plan. You can't go this journey blindfolded. You're going to fall. At the first hurdle, you're going to fall. You're going to lose your way. You're going to lose all sense of direction. You're going to lose your bearings. And the worst of all is, you can go mad. Because this is like a rabbit hole. Remember what happened to Alice? She went into Wonderland. Because she went down the wrong rabbit hole. So you all need a plan, folks. And I think it's reasonable for me to expect you to have a plan, because if I'm right, none of you could have become successful through dreaming. There may be the odd one who had a large inheritance from their parents, folks, and so on and so forth. But I would think it would be safe to assume that the majority of you worked hard, had ambitions, and then achieved the successes that you do today, that you enjoy today. What I'm asking you to do is have that same diligence, that same discipline towards this one goal that is the only goal that's worth achieving. Everything else is now a means to an end. All these things that you wanted to achieve in your life, which was simply a means to an end, you set yourself goals. Well, I think this is the time where you really, really, really need to start getting to grips with that stuff. So I asked you all to start to have a timetable, to get yourselves, to structure yourselves, your day, your 24 hours a day. Because otherwise, before you know it, your time's going to be gone. Time's ticking by right now, every day. Just think it's middle of August now, right? 7.5 months have gone by. Almost 8 months have gone by. Now that's more than half the year. Where's it all gone? You're 8 months older than when this year started. Let me put it another way. You're 8 months closer to? All right. You know what else you're closer to? You're 8 months closer to going blind. You're 8 months closer to going deaf. You're 8 months closer to becoming paralyzed. You're 8 months closer to a heart attack. You're 8 months closer to a coma. You're 8 months closer to being bedridden. Which science fiction story book did I pick that up from? The Odyssey? Or is it Huckleberry Finn? Which one? I picked it up from the book called Life. Your life. One of our Anagarika sons came and spoke to me today. I was really glad that he came and approached me and shared his heartfelt emotions with me. He said, Swamin Wahansa, I'm reminded of home. Young chap. Teenage years. I'm reminded of home. I can't help but think of Ammi and Tati. I'm reminded of my parents, my friends, my sisters and my brothers I play at home with, school friends. And it makes me feel really sad because I dote on them, and to not have them around makes me feel really, really sad. What must I do, Swaminathan? He asked me. I said, Buddha, I'm really, really glad you came and asked me that question. Without doing what? Without keeping them inside and then festering. I said, Buddha, everyone goes through that phase. But here's the thing. I didn't tell him, make your mind up, because everyone goes through that phase and you're eventually going to get over it. No, that's everyone else. What about me? Right? I said, so you feel sad when you're reminded of them, right? Because you miss them. That's why you find it difficult to be here? Yes. Was his answer. I said, that's exactly why you should be here. Did you get what I said? If you are reminded of your family and it makes you feel sad, if you miss your friends and it makes you feel sad, that's exactly why you should be here. Because the day is going to come where you're going to miss your family and it's going to be inevitable. And you won't be able to do anything about it. The day is going to come when when your parents are going to say goodbye and you can't do anything about it. The day is going to come when your friends are going to say goodbye and you can't do zilch about it. What about then? Where are you going to run then? Who are you going to go and talk to then? See, you can only run, but you can't hide. So really the best place to be if you miss your family is away from your family, right here. Because here we teach you how to be without your family. Here we teach you how to be without your friends and not miss them. Here we teach you how to be okay without having anyone around you. How to have a brave heart. How to be strong. How to be fearless. This is what we have to offer. And as I spoke to him, I thought we should all ask these questions from ourselves. You should come here, folks, if you still miss your family, if you miss your friends, if being without your friends, being without your family makes you feel sad, that's why you ought to get on that bus. If you don't miss your family, if it doesn't matter to you whether your friends are with you or not, if it doesn't matter to you that one by one every member of your family is bidding farewell and never to see you again, if you're okay with that, well, guess what? You don't need to get on that bus. You can stay at home. If the above things make you feel emotional, makes you feel sad, brings a tear to your eye, well, that's exactly why you should be here. Because here is where we treat such problems. You need to understand now, folks, that this is a problem. If missing a loved one, if the death or the passing away of a loved one pulls a heartstring, shatters your heart, jerks your emotions, you've got a problem. You've got a problem. It's not okay to cry at your mother's funeral. It's not. The fact that someone cries at their mother's funeral simply means that something's wrong with them. It's them. It's the mother who's died. Not you. Why are you crying? If you become emotional, when someone speaks to you and it reminds you of a loved one, someone you might have lost, if you become emotional, hey, guess what? Something's wrong with you. I know this goes against every moral principle that's out there. Because what the world says and what every Tom, Dick and Harry says is, no, that's how you should be. At a funeral, you should open up. If you don't cry at someone's funeral, then you don't care about them. You know, people expect other people to cry. Do you know that? You're all expected to cry? You are adults, right? Yeah, like babies. Huh? Yes. People get paid to cry. You can hire criers. There used to be called town crier back in those days. He used to go around giving news. But like that nowadays, I think it's always been the case. If you don't cry at your mother's funeral, if you don't cry at your father's funeral, then people will say there's something wrong with you. Something really, really wrong with you. But that's a very ignoble way of looking at the problem. Anarya. The noble way of looking at this is, it's wrong to cry at your mother's funeral. If you haven't lost your mother yet, well, guess what? Newsflash. Just in case you didn't know, what? If you haven't lost her yet, you will. Is it you may or you will? All right. No, you will. You will. We prepare you for the inevitable. That is why you should come here. Before you get on that bus every Sunday, ask yourself. Before you get on the bus or take a rickshaw or get in your car, before you turn the ignition to come to the monastery, ask yourself, if I get news of someone who's my beloved passed away, has just passed, if I just get that news, how's that going to make me feel? If the answer to that is, I couldn't bear the pain of that, it'll still make me really sad, I'll still feel very emotional about it, you're welcome. Because then you're coming here to solve a problem. Whose problem? Whose problem? Your problem. Some people don't come here to solve their problem. Some people come here to solve other people's problems. Some people come here because they think I have a problem. It still surprises me how some people, they come up to me and they sit down, say, Swaminatha, can I talk to you for a few minutes? Yeah, what can I do for you, sir? I'm the manager of this so and such company. My friend here, he's the assistant manager of such and such company. I was like, okay. So, we live in this part of the country, we are well-to-do. No, good, carry on. I just came to say that. Oh, fabulous. How interesting. So they haven't come here because they have a problem. Well, they just don't know they have a problem. It's amazing how sometimes some people come and talk to me, and then in the middle of a conversation, they'll drop in these little nuggets They'll drop in the fact that they are they have high authority somewhere in some company, some organization. They're a popular public figure, and they expect me to nod and go, "Oh yeah, I know him." Yeah, some people come and introduce themselves. Swaminathan, I am this person, and they look at my face, expecting me to go, "Oh, that's you, is it?" When they see a blank expression on my face, they're very disappointed. I don't act. I genuinely don't know these people. I genuinely don't know them. But I know that sometimes it disappoints them when they come and talk to me and they expect an expression from me to appreciate the fact that they're important people in society, high paid figures, right? Important people in a company. They expect me to appreciate that. Perhaps that's what they're used to. But then they're coming here for the wrong reason. This is my point. They're coming here for the wrong reason. And then I make most conversations very short, because I know they've come here to talk, not to take what we have to offer. I don't have time for that. I know you're not like that. But this is why I reminded you, before you get on the bus every day, ask yourself, am I getting on the right bus? Because just soon after this bus goes by, there's another bus that comes, which says, Angoda. You might as well get on that. Is it? And actually, I think it's cheaper. It's cheaper. So, like I spoke to that Buddha earlier on today, I need you all also to understand this. If there are things in your life which still trouble you mentally, if things still upset you, if there are worries and fears that trouble you, if you have sleepless nights, if the loss of a loved one still keeps you up at night, if worries and fears of the future keep you up at night, what am I going to do tomorrow? Is it going to happen? Are they going to arrive? Is he going to be okay? I just got a call from the doctor, is he going to be okay tomorrow morning? If these problems still keep you up at night, you can come. Because then you come here with a genuine problem, wanting a solution. And then I can help you find peace. Not rest in peace when you're dead, be at peace while you're alive. Reminds me of the old times. When we first came to this monastery, there was none of this. You might have seen pictures of when we first arrived at the monastery. We had a plank of wood as a bed, One of those mats you can fold, lay it on top, just to stop the plank from being ruined, not my back. A plank of wood on 4 bricks, cement blocks, and that's how we slept. We didn't have windows, we didn't have doors. That was clearly before Bill Gates. But I sometimes ask myself, can I go back to that past and still be okay with that? I think I can. Otherwise, what am I doing here? Buddha always taught his monks to be content with very little. And these things, perhaps in your household lives, may be basic necessities. But once you have gone forth, and once you have trained your mind to be free of a lot of desires, all of this becomes a luxury. Those cushions that you have resting your backs on, that's a luxury. Let's give it 5 minutes just in case. For those who came to the meditation program last week, it's a good idea, huh? It's testing your patience. It's testing your patience. For those who came to the meditation program last week, I asked them to do something, a few things, and I'll propose them to you as well. Some really good things to check where you are. This is like a self-test, a litmus test. How far have you gone down the path? Hopefully the right path. You'll figure out. We get used to, like I said at the beginning, we are creatures of habit, right? We're all creatures of habit. See if you can spot some of the habits that you're used to. Some of the habits you've picked up. Like which side of the bed you get up every morning. Which side of the bed do you sleep every night? Sometimes without you knowing, that's the only side of the bed you can fall asleep, because it's become a habit now. These things can happen. Some people can't fall asleep in someone else's bed. Sometimes when people go traveling, it takes them a while to get accustomed. That's because they're so attached to a way of life that they have become used to, that simple changes like the bedding can make a huge difference. If you always put your head to one side of the bed, try putting your head to the other side of the bed and try sleeping a few nights. See how that makes you feel. Try sleeping on the other side of the bed. Turn the mattress upside down. Turn your pillowcases the wrong side out. Sometimes people can't, they're not okay with that. They just feel so uneasy. If it goes so far, and then after a point it's what you call an OCD. You can't turn away, you can't be at peace when simply your samantines are not aligned correctly in your cupboard. People have such problems. If you lay out your table, your workstation, and some people when they have to have everything so neat and tidy, and that's a good thing. It's always good to be neat and tidy. But being neat and tidy is one thing. Being attached to neatness and tidiness is another. Being attached to it is another. Because if you're attached to something, no matter what that is, the moment something changes, you're immediately outside your comfort zone. Now, think about some examples. See, if you want to attain Nibbana, right? And you're telling me that you can't come to the monastery just now, or you want to, but we can't accommodate you just now, then I need to show you how you can do this while you're at home. Because this is nothing if not practical. Nibbana is nothing if not practical. The path to Nirvana has to be a practical one. And for it to be practical, I don't expect you to go places looking for practicals. Practical examples are with you, right next to you, at home. So let me put some of those to you. And now I want you, when you go back to your homes, to try and think about these things. How do they affect you? Right? Do you all have a designated cup and a plate at home? Some people do. This is Ammi's plate. This is Tati's plate. Why is it called Ammi's plate and Tati's plate? Because Ammi never eats in Tati's plate and Tati never eats in Ammi's plate. And you know which one's which because they both have chippings, and those chippings complement perfectly with the scars on their foreheads. That's how you know which one's which. Right? So don't go and take your husband's plate. Let him have his plate. You have, if there are other plates which are not your plates, they're not designated plates, see if you can eat in another plate. And you think that's so simple, right? I mean, like, Swaminatha, that's just like, so what's so difficult about that? There are some people who won't eat unless it's their plate. Attractions and attachments can be so strong that they'd go hungry, but they won't eat another person's plate. Some people have their mugs, and I won't have a drink in another mug. It has to be my mug. You mug. The mind, sometimes mind plays tricks, folks. You need to be aware. You need to be mindful to spot these tricks that the mind plays. Sometimes the way you lay out your cutlery in the kitchen. A lot of times, why do Nandamas and Lelis have fights at home? Mothers and daughter-in-laws, the in-laws, it's quite customary for them to get into brawls and arguments at home. A lot of times because they can't compromise. Not willing to compromise, unwilling to compromise. Because they have one way, it's my way or the highway. So I have my way. That's where the problem is. When you have my way. Mage vidya. My way. You get used to my way. Why? Because I'm the boss around here. It's my way. This is all practical stuff, folks. I'm not talking about Paticcasamuppada. I didn't say avidya pacca sankhara, sankhara pacca vijnana, because that's the theory. This is the practical stuff. This is the practical stuff. Look at the things you're addicted to. Seek and you shall find. Things that you're addicted to. Your ways that you're addicted to. Habits that you have picked up and you're unwilling to change. People get divorced because they can't decide which way the toilet seat has to be, up or down. I'm not kidding. I'm seriously not kidding. I've read it on the papers. People divorced because they couldn't decide. They couldn't agree which way the toilet seat was going to be. People getting divorced because they couldn't decide what color the walls are going to be painted. These are all addictions, all attachments that are keeping you from finding peace in your hearts. Some people can't eat rice without parippu. I had friends like that. I knew one guy, he couldn't eat a meal without a dal curry. You have to have a dal curry. Otherwise he wouldn't eat. He said, if you don't mean, I can go hungry, I just won't eat it without my dal curry. And so what the family would do is cook for the entire family, and for this guy they'd have to make a separate dal curry. Some people have to have a morning tea. It's okay to have a morning tea, but if you have to have a morning tea, you've got a problem. And if it has to be a Milo, you've got a big problem. I know why you're laughing. If you have to wear matching socks, you've got a problem. I'm not saying where you wear socks and other people can see, therefore, there's a mismatch. No, other people can't see. Let's imagine others can't see what you're wearing. But you have to wear matching socks. If those socks don't match, you have an awful day from that day forward. From that point forward, you got a problem. They're what they call bad hair days. You heard of that? Bad hair day? Yeah. Okay. Let's see if karma is going to be kind on us. This may be a trick, okay? Some people are so particular about where they sit when they go somewhere. It could be in the car, right? Let's say the father is who drives the car normally, that's okay. Mother sits on the left-hand side or right-hand side, depending on which side the steering wheel's on. And then the children, they're particular. I always have a window seat. I always sit behind Ammi. I can't sit behind Tati. These are all addictions. The things you think are so innocent, right? Who could it possibly harm? It's not harming anybody else. It's harming you. Because they're all attachments, all addictions. They're very difficult to spot because it's become a habit. For the first, second time, it came just because it was what was needed. Circumstances led you to making that decision that this is where you had to sit. But then it became habit, and now if you're asked to sit somewhere else, that makes you feel uncomfortable. Did you have a question, madam? Oh, this is a sensitive topic. You've opened a Pandora's box. So the good lady is asking, what if you're a vegetarian? Should I shoot myself in the head or should I just keep quiet? Okay, let me put it with this caveat. Okay, this is only my opinion. This is only my opinion. So please feel free to accept or reject. And let's not take it any further. How about that? Okay? You can accept or you can reject. If you're a vegetarian for health reasons, it's perfectly fine that you insist on a vegetarian meal. For health reasons. In other words, if you take something that is non-vegetarian, a non-vegetarian item of food, it makes you feel ill or sick or whatever, or you get some kind of allergic reaction and so on. But if you're attached to the fact that you're a vegetarian, now there's a problem. Some people are vegetarian on grounds of principle. Okay? For instance, being a non-veg indirectly supports, let's say, the killing of animals, slaughter of animals. Okay? And I understand that. Indirectly, yes, it does. It does support the slaughter of animals. But there's no karma, there's no bad karma associated with that. Let's just get that straight. Let's get the facts straight. Getting someone to kill, that's wrong. Ordering someone to kill, that's wrong. Killing on someone else's behalf, that's wrong. But indirectly, no one should have to say, I kill because someone else eats. The person who kills is the one who acquires the demerit, not the one who eats. But if someone says, I need a fine goat, could you slaughter one for me tonight, please? Now you're getting another person to do it for you. And that, of course, is getting involved in that bad karma. Now, on the topic of being a vegetarian, there are some people are vegetarian for environmental reasons. They say it's better to be a vegetarian. It's good for the environment. It's good for your health, and I completely understand. From a lot of points of view, being a vegetarian is on the whole better. But let's imagine you go somewhere. It's a party or some kind of gathering, and all the items of food that have been laid out are non-vegetarian. You want to eat, there's no other option there. Now if you insist, I shall not eat unless I'm given something vegetarian, I think it's the time to stop and ask yourself the question, am I attached to the fact that I'm vegetarian? Am I an addicted vegetarian? Because if there's no other option, and you're vegetarian because you're attached to that idea, that concept of being a vegetarian, that's still again an attachment. In other words, let's say someone gave you something to eat, it's already in your mouth, you're chewing on it, and so how is that? Oh, those mushrooms, they're lovely, aren't they? Oh, there are no mushrooms. What do you mean there are no mushrooms? No, that's rabbit meat. If at that moment you want to spit it all out, you were chewing it fine a moment ago. Now, because you have just learned that it's some kind of meat, and a meat of an animal that makes you feel sick, these are all defilements. And if that makes you throw it out, some people, if you inform them that what they have just had is dog meat or rat meat or something like that, in fact it makes them feel sick half an hour after the meal. Until then they were fine. But the moment you inform them that what you ate half an hour ago was such and such item of food, all of a sudden they become sick. And then now they start throwing up. These are all defilements. Because the body didn't reject it. It's the mind now rejecting it. It's the mind that's rejecting it. But again, so this is why this is a very sensitive topic, because there are people who argue and debate both sides of this quite vehemently, and so I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or tread on anyone's heartfelt opinions. All I can say is, no matter what it is, if you're attached to something, that will bring you suffering. Even if you're attached to the Buddha, that will still bring you suffering. If you're attached to the Dhamma, that will still bring you suffering. If you're attached to the Sangha, it will bring you suffering. It doesn't matter what you're attached to. Attachment will always bring you suffering. Even if there are principles, attached to human rights, that can bring you suffering, because the moment you see human rights being violated, it makes you upset. If you see a child being beaten up, child abuse, if you can do something about it, do something about it. But if that makes you feel sad, if that jerks a tear in your eye, if that brings out a rage inside of you, how dare they treat that child like that? Curse be upon them. If these words start coming into your mind, guess what? You're the one with the problem. You have a problem. Problems that need to be fixed. Get on that bus. The reason that these things have become questions to us, right? What is right and wrong? Is because we have been indoctrinated to see certain views as being right and other views as being wrong. Because really, right and wrong are very subjective ideas. Is it right that women are allowed to get a driver's license? Is it right? Is it right or wrong? In reality, you can't come with an answer to that because it's whatever society determines. In some countries, it's against the law. In other countries, well, of course, why not? So whether something's right or wrong is very much determined by the societal norms and what people have come together and as a convention agreed, this is what we're going to live by. These are the rules, these are the values that we're going to live by. Right and wrong. You know, in Sri Lanka, you can travel on the bus standing on the footboard, and that seems to be okay. Half the time you don't get stopped by the traffic police. But in other countries, you know, the bus wouldn't move if the doors weren't shut. Now clearly there's a right and wrong. Not from the view of the law, but you are putting yourself at risk. So yes, of course, if you ask me, is it right to travel on the footboard? I will say, no, it's not right to travel on the footboard. But a lot of other things, they're all conventions. Most things are really conventions. So actually, vegetarianism can become a convention. There are benefits. I'll be the first to accept and acknowledge that there are benefits to being a vegetarian. But if and again, like the people that I said can come and talk to me about, the people there and the authority that they hold in society. Some people, they come up to me and they tell me, Swaminatha, I've been a vegetarian for a long time now. And again, they want me to appreciate that. It's just a choice in life. It's like, Swaminatha, I brush my teeth twice a day. What do you want me to do? Give you a brownie point? That's just things that people have gotten used to, and that's fine, perfectly fine. There's no problem with that. Where it becomes a problem is if you're attached to it. So if there are circumstances in which, let's say you're stuck in a desert. Sorry, not a desert. You couldn't be stuck in a desert. If you're stuck in a desert, and your life is at risk. The only food you can find is a dead camel. Now if you're steadfast and you say, I'm adamant, I'm a vegetarian and I shall not eat the camel because it's meat, well, what you're doing is you're putting your life on the line. You're not killing the animal, the animal's dead, right? The meat is available to eat. But because you're a vegetarian, if that is the basis on which you will not take this food and you need the food for your survival, then chances are you're addicted to the fact that you're a vegetarian. One of the ways you can check this, and we're only using vegetarianism because the good lady asked it as a question, but anything that applies, you can use whatever principles that you live by. Some people say, Swaminatha, I don't drink, and I'm proud of that. Don't ever come and ask me whether it's right to or wrong to drink. Please don't come and ask me that question. Because that's not what we are here to talk about. It's wrong to be attached to drinking. Whether you drink because you're attached or because the circumstances that you find yourself in force you to do it. Sometimes when you're in certain gatherings, right, in worldly associations, in certain gatherings. If you don't partake in certain customs, then you become the odd one out. And then you have to face problems. Because you're the odd one out, you have to face problems, and then everything just becomes a little bit more complicated. Now, this is not me condoning drinking, by the way. All I'm saying is, don't ask me whether it's right or wrong to drink. Because no matter what answer I give, it's always going to be the wrong answer. And the reason for that is because everyone will have their opinions about these things. But I'll tell you one thing that is wrong about drinking. If you're attached to drinking, that is most certainly wrong. Because attachment will always bring you suffering. That will bring you suffering. So one of the ways you can ask yourself is, if you are attached to these things, because there could be a number of reasons why you're attached. Most of the time it's because you have defined yourself by some of the ways that you have adopted. Like the my way that we talked about earlier. This is my way. If it makes you feel proud when you walk up to someone and say, I am like this, I don't drink, come on, appreciate me, come on, there's a problem. Right? I'm a vegetarian. Hello? Am I not getting a gold star for this? Then we have a problem. Because it may be that you use these as tools to foster your ego. That can happen. These are all places to watch out for. So again, I re-emphasize, this is not me criticizing or speaking in favor of either vegetarianism or drinking or whatever. What I'm saying though is, just check, because we are talking about practical path to Nibbana, right? Practical applications of Nibbana, and therefore it's a really good point to bring up. Ask yourself: Are you holding on to certain ways of life and values because it makes you stand out of the crowd, because it makes you special among others? If that is why you're doing it, then you must reconsider. And also, if you're attached to it, then of course that's going to bring you suffering. It's going to bring you suffering. Now, as a monk, of course, the Buddha said you are not supposed to take alcohol. So he laid down rules. You're not supposed to take alcohol. He didn't say whether it was right or wrong. He just said, I am laying out a rule because society conventionally accepts or believes that people who consume alcohol are not seen in a good light. This is what used to be. But nowadays when you go to a social gathering, the guy who doesn't drink is the guy who gets ridiculed, like I used to be all the time. He's the guy who gets mocked, like a sissy, doesn't drink, right? So, but those days, when these things came out, it wasn't the dumb thing. Like when smoking. When it first came out, smoking was the dumb thing, right? It was like if you are a gentleman, you smoke. He who smokes is a gentleman. But then later on, as society, they began to understand the health issues around smoking, then all of a sudden that changed. And then smoking in public became frowned upon. And then nowadays, when you look for someone to get married to, mothers and fathers, they're very persistent about, or very particular about finding someone who doesn't drink, finding someone who doesn't smoke, right? Because these people they believe are better people. But you can't make that call. What if this guy he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, but every night he beats his wife up? What's the point? And if he opens his mouth, only things he has to say are bad things, evil things, harsh words. What's the point? Most of the time, really, folks, it's not what goes in that matters. It's what comes out. That is what matters. I'm pointing at my mouth for those who are listening online. It's not what goes into your mouth that we need to think long and hard about. It's really what comes out of your mouth that one needs to think long and hard about. What comes out of your mouth can damage you and everyone else around you for a long, long time. What goes into your mouth will probably just only affect you. And the effects of that are probably quite short-lived. But it's not going to outlive you. But what comes out of your mouth, that can certainly outlive you. Some people who started wars are no longer among the living, but the wars are still going on. The wars are still ongoing. The lives that they destroyed are still destroyed. They're still trying to be rebuilt. But the people who said the wrong things to get those wars started, they're no longer around. Right? So what's more important is to consider what comes out of the mouth, not what goes into the mouth. Consider that. Just ponder over that. So let's talk about practically. Practically what some of the things you can do at home. One of the examples that came up during the meditation program is, if you have a clothesline at home. Really simple things. If you have a clothesline at home, some people are very particular about which bit of the clothesline they get to put their clothes on. If there's a clothesline that's closest, so let's say right immediately after you step out of the kitchen, that's where you have your clothesline in the backyard. Right? Father or mother is very particular that the first few feet or the first meter of the clothesline is where he puts his clothes on. No one else can touch that bit. That's my bit of the clothesline. And then from there on, Lokuputta has his bit, Podiputta has his bit, Chutidu has her bit, right? And so on. There are people who are like this. Does it surprise you? There are people who are like that. When you use a handkerchief, is there a way you always have to fold it? When you fold your shirts, is there a way you have to fold it? If you see that someone else has folded your linen for you, right? It's come out dry from the laundry or whatever, and it's been folded in a particular way. Does it make you feel uncomfortable just seeing that it's not how I want it? So you unfold them and fold them back. How about where you put your stuff in the wardrobe? How about how you lay out your dressing table? If someone else does it on your behalf, right? Let's say the husband gets this idea. I don't know why husbands get these ideas. I'm going to clean my wife's wardrobe. Well, sometimes you should be grateful that it never happens. In my experience, it was always a wrong thing to do. And two things you don't touch: fire and your wife's toiletries. So are you particular about how your dressing table is laid out? Right? The powder has to go left hand bottom. The makeup kit above shelf. Right? Your jewelry has to be on the right hand side bottom drawer. Right? Socks have to be in the middle drawer. Right? If ever you find it in the wrong place, who the See, defilements. I'm not talking about 5S here, okay? By the way, it's like you've laid it all out because it makes you more productive. And you open the drawer, you know exactly where to find things, right? I'm not talking about organization here. I'm talking about if you find something in the wrong place, are you able to quite calmly and coolly just put it back in the right place and go on with your life, or does your life take a halt there? These are questions to ask yourselves. How about in the kitchen? You have a board on there, right? Husband, out of bounds. There are some women like that. Do not come into the kitchen, because the kitchen's my space, it's my personal space, and I decide what goes on here. Right? And usually, mothers-in-laws and sister-in-laws, this is where a lot of the fights start, in the kitchen. Because you can't decide where things go. And if you put your powders, your condiments and things in one place, your saucers, your plates and your dishes and your cutlery in one place, someone else comes along and shuffles the whole thing around because they think it's a smart idea, when actually it's the worst idea they've ever had in their life. They might as well go and touch a live wire. But when you walk into the room, when you walk into the kitchen and find that things have been shuffled around, these are really, really, really interesting times in your life. Not in the day. I said, really interesting times in your life. Because now your life can take a lesson. Because when you see these things and you feel anger, when you become upset, when you get annoyed, you become frustrated, guess who's got a problem? You've got a problem. And I tell you what, until you came across the Dhamma, you always pointed your finger where? Out. Actually, in the meditation program, those of you who are here, do you remember what the significance of pointing your finger that way means? 3 fingers towards you. Why 3? Raga, Desha, Moha. Desire, aversion and delusion, pointing right back at you, saying, hey, stop. Look, you got 3 problems. This is a 3-pronged problem that you have. Pointing right back at you. It's telling you exactly where the problem is. You just were blind to it. Now let's go to the husbands. Why we just pick on the wives, right? I can see the wives folding their sleeves. Let's tear them a new page. The car is a very sensitive one, isn't it? Who gets to drive the car? Where the car is parked? How the things in the car are laid out? If you're, which gear the gear is left in? Right? Do you leave it in neutral or do you leave it on first? Or is it on reverse? Some people are very particular about it. People get into fights about it. And how the glove box is laid out. The notebook has to go on the left, not the right. How many times must I tell you that? The cigarette lighter, you shouldn't leave it turned down. Leave it turned upside, with the smoke symbol up. Some people are so particular about these things. If you park the car, then switch off the indicator. Yes, you turn left, right, yes. Last time you turned it left, yeah, okay, get it. But once you've parked the car, you should put it all back into their normal state. Put it back into neutral. Turn the volume down. You know how some people, before they start the ignition, they have to turn the AC off. There are some people like that. You have to turn it off before you turn the engine on. Now I don't know whether technically there's a reason for this or not, but some people, they get so angry. Perhaps there's too much draw on the engine, and therefore it's you have to turn off the engine, the aircon before you turn the engine on, perhaps. But the thing is, this is what I'm saying. If something needs to be done, do it. But if you get upset about it, if you get angry about it, if you get annoyed about it, now we have a problem. In a worldly life, what people used to say is, why do you care more about your car than you do about your wife? You shouldn't be speaking to her like this, because your car it's just a car. You're hurting another person's feelings. That is how the world said, don't do these things, right? Think about your wife, you're hurting her feelings. But actually, this is not what I'm pointing out to you now. I'm not talking about how your wife feels when you rebuke her. What I'm saying is, you've got a problem. Look at yourself. You've got a problem. The fact that you had to have a go at her, the fact that you got angry, the fact that you got frustrated, I'm not talking about the effect that it has on your wife. I'm talking about the effect it has on you. That's what I'm talking about. And in his office, right, how he keeps his computer and his keyboard and his mouse, it has to be on the right hand side or the left hand side. If ever he finds it on the other side, there's a war at home. That's why sometimes you say, Buddha, no matter what you do when you go into Tati's office, just don't touch his things. No matter what you do, just don't touch his things. Does that not tell you something about Tati? How much he must suffer on the inside. Everything you're particular about, these are all things that you're hurting about on the inside. These are all pain points. All things that can hurt you, all things that can torture you, all things that can take away your happiness. If you're particular about anything, ask yourself, are you addicted? Are you attached to it? So the best way to do that is when you're at home, either change it yourself and see how it makes you feel. If you always have your tea in a particular mug, right, get another mug. Try it out. See if you're addicted. Some people are addicted to smoking. You think you can attain Nirvana if you're addicted to smoking? No. As much as people believe that it's the body that's addicted to it, I think if you really look into the facts, it's the mind that's addicted to it. There may be some science that supports that the body needs the nicotine and so on and so forth. But actually the mind is what is really addicted to it. Even if the body can give up, they say that although there's an expression that says, although the mind is willing, the flesh is weak. But actually it's the other way around. The flesh is willing. As in the body is willing, the body is prepared, but the mind is weak. The mind still can't give up those attachments. So if you have a habit of smoking, you need a plan, folks. You need a plan to give up the habit. Why? Well, you're getting on that bus, aren't you? Just as much as you need a timetable. Just as much as you're putting aside 15 minutes towards your meditation every day. Hopefully you're doing that. You need a plan to give up smoking. Is it good to smoke or is it bad to smoke? From health reasons, everyone accepts, and scientifically it's been proven that smoking is bad for you. So I suppose I can talk about that. But that's not what I'm really talking about. I don't care what it does to your body. Frankly, I don't. What I care about is the fact that if you're addicted to it mentally, Nibbana is a long way away. So if you're serious about your journey, if you want my time, well, I ask you for something in return. All of these things that you're addicted to, all of these habits that you have picked up along the way in your life, get yourselves on a plan. Get yourselves on a plan to break those habits. Otherwise, I can't accept it when you say that you're serious about Nibbana. No matter what that addiction is, whether it's your breakfast tea, right? Whether it's reading the newspaper in the morning, some people are addicted to that. Whether it's watching the news every day, some people are addicted to that. Whether it's the cricket, some people are addicted to that. Whether it's watching the teledrama at 8 o'clock every day sharp, right? You can't miss the teledrama. If you miss an episode, you have to go back and catch up. Otherwise, your entire week is like gone out of sync now. You feel like you've become a zombie now until you go back and watch the missed episode of the teledrama. Some people are like that. I know I have associated people like that. They become so upset. The entire day is like they become so rough. All that niceness that they had is all gone. If you ask them why, because my husband didn't let me watch last night's teledrama. He had to watch the football. Bloody husband. People are like that. What they should have made a teledrama of this person's life, and how much this person suffers as a result of that. So these are things that you can do practically to see how addicted you are. Your towel, do you always, if there's some kind of design by which you can identify the left top, bottom, or left top, right top, bottom left, bottom right corners, and therefore you know which way you're holding your towel. Some people are addicted to which way they pick up the towel and start wiping themselves. They can never be happy if it's the wrong way around. Why, is the towel less effective then? No, but there are some people who they have to pick it up a certain way. They have to. When you get dressed, right? Obviously underwear goes on first, then the rest of it. Does it have to be top first and bottom next, or does it have to be bottom first, top next? Does it have to be that way? But some people, it has become a habit, and now they can't break those habits. So if you do certain things in your life a certain way, my proposal to you is try changing it a little bit. Try changing your daily rhythm. See how that makes you feel. If you've gotten used to sleeping 8 hours a day, see how it makes you feel on 7. Yes, ma'am.
How if now I find I'm not trained that I'm very spontaneous. Is that refinement too? Because I can't fall into it. I'm like, wait, but I'm sure I have refinements. So now I'm finding it hard to, of course I might be adding something, but is that also the refinement?
Okay. So spontaneity, wanting to work without a plan, without pre-planning.
Yes. Well, I have a rough idea in my head of my days, and I can't go into detail. But I know, and then I can achieve it.
Okay.
But this, my mom thinks I'm totally. She's what you explain. So then I don't know what if I'm trying to think one.
Sure. Okay. So let me give you an example, right? Because I have seen this. I used to have a friend who was a really nice, he was a really good artist. The pictures he drew is like, it's as if Pablo Picasso was with you. It's like so beautiful his art. He was such a skilled artist. And all of us appreciated the fact that he was a good artist. And he enjoyed art. So he enjoyed drawing things, right? Whenever he could find time, he would draw things, various things, random. But something that upset him is when you ask him to draw something, okay, can you draw this for me, please? That would upset him. He'd say, no, I can't. I just can't. Or you ask him to do it in a particular time, right? I need this by tomorrow, can you do it for me? Then he gets agitated because he's not used to working to someone else's order. That puts him completely outside his comfort zone. It unsettles him when you get him to work to someone else's plan. Because there are some people who are addicted to their freedom. In the sense, they have to decide when and how they do things. If someone else comes along and calls the shots, now they find that really upsetting, so unsettling. These are sometimes people you find who are not able to work with authority or to someone else's authority. They are people who are unable to surrender to someone else's authority. You find the people like that in all places, even in the workplace. So sometimes, if like a new guy comes into the office and he's just your senior, or he's a younger guy than you, sometimes people find it difficult to adjust to working to the orders of someone either who's younger to you, who has less experience to you. Because what they're used to is doing things at their whim and fancy. When I like it, I will do it how I want it. If you ask me to do it, the same thing that this guy did, the same thing, now he's unable to do it, now he's unwilling to do it. And rather than unable to, he's unwilling to do it, because now you've got to put yourself into a structure. Some people they live a very unstructured life, and that is their structure. Their way is living an unstructured life. Live it as it comes. Spontaneity. One extreme of that, I suppose. But even that, if there's an attachment to that, if there's a strong affinity to that, and you can't break out of that, then you need to stop and think. Because an arahant is someone who's okay with anything, provided it's not unmeritorious. An arahant is okay with anything. So if you ask an arahant to, let's say an arahant who was an electrician by profession, when he was a lay person, he's now an arahant, and you get him, ask him to go and do some plumbing. That's completely out of his comfort zone, because it's not a skill that he knows. But if you ask him to, he will say, I will do the best I can. I'll do the best I can. What he's not going to say is, well, I am an electrician, I don't know plumbing. I don't know. So I'm not willing to. I'm not even willing to try. There are some people like that. And there are some people who don't like to work to someone else's timetable. My way or the highway. That's also an addiction. And I can't say that is the case with you, madam. I'm just saying in general, these are things that we have to be mindful of, to watch out for. So some things that you can do is, from time to time, see if you can come up with a timetable and work to that. Because then it's not spontaneous. Right? Come up with a timetable, or get someone else to decide what you're going to be doing at a particular hour of the day. Let's say 7 to 8 every Thursday afternoon. Okay, 7 to 8 p.m. Get someone else to decide what you're going to be doing in that hour. Now see how that makes you feel. And get them to tell them, change it as and when you feel. The reason you're doing it is to check if you have defilements. Right? Get them to decide what you're going to be doing. So one day it's going to be gardening. The next day it's going to be clearing out the cobwebs. The next day it's going to be washing out the dishes, whatever. And then halfway through they go, okay, right, that's it. Let's go and do something else. You've only just started, half of the dishes have been cleaned, but the rest is still there. And they say, right, stop, let's go do something else. So now you're expected to work at a very random pace and something that you haven't pre-planned. See how that makes you feel. That is what's important. See how it makes you feel. And if you're able to work to that sort of non-predeterministic timetable that someone else calls out, these are all things that you can do to test yourself. All practical stuff. Some people, let's say, when some people go shopping and they want to, let's say, buy a handkerchief, it has to be a particular color. Has to be. Right now, just remind think about your wardrobes, right? If all of your accessories, or your, things like your handkerchiefs, your scarves and things like that, are they generally are they generally one color? Are they either monotone or perhaps more one color than other colors? Then these are all things that will start to show you that, hey, you have favoritisms. You have things that you like more than others. So from time to time, switch. See how that makes you feel. Like I said, just sit in a different seat in the car. At the workplace, go and sit in a different place. See how that makes you feel. If you're always a window person, either at the office or when you catch a flight, if you always have to have the window. I used to be like that. I always go to pre-book my flight seats because I had to have a window. Not that it makes me sick if I sat in another place. I just was so addicted to watching out and seeing the clouds as we flew past. So that was an addiction I used to have. I didn't realize it until I stopped and started to ask myself, what are some of the things I'm addicted to? These can be things you're addicted to. See if you can wear your wristwatch on your right arm. If you put it on your left now, see if you can switch it to your right and still be okay with that. It's gonna feel uncomfortable, isn't it? Isn't it? If you have your wristwatch on your left, that is how you've always been used to. Put it on your right, see how that makes you feel. No one's gonna say anything about it. People might say, hey, are you wearing your wristwatch on the wrong arm? Yeah, it's just, alright, sorry, I forgot. Put it on the left hand, that's okay. But do it just to see how it makes you feel. If it's so unsettling, now there's a problem. There's a problem. Some people can only write with Atlas Chuti. It has to be an Atlas Chuti. It's a type of pen. It's a brand. They can't write with any other pen. Some people have to have gel pens. They won't write with normal carbon ink. Addictions. Is it any more legible when you write it in gel? You can justify. But what if gel pens didn't exist? Now you're going to have to use whatever is available, right? Of course, for comfort, for convenience, I get that. But what I'm saying is from time to time, change. And then you'll be able to identify if it's a habit, if it's become an addiction. Because people think drugs and alcohol are the only addictions in life. No. All of these things are also addictions. If you like your chocolate, do you always buy the same brand? Does it have to be Kinder Bueno? Does it have to be a Snickers bar? Yes, sir.
I have a problem.
So do I.
Wearing watches and rings. I don't feel comfortable wearing anything. Is that physical thing or?
So it can be physical. It can be. I suppose that's why we don't wear anything. Because, after all, it's an extra weight that you have to carry on your body. But let's say if you have to wear it, you normally wear it on your index finger or say, what finger do you call this one? I can't remember now. Ring finger, right? Ring finger? Yeah. If you wear it on the right hand ring finger, see if you can switch it to your left hand and still be okay with that. In your case, if you don't wear it anyway because it makes you feel uncomfortable, then don't worry about that. There are plenty of other things you can work on. But what I'm saying is, if there are things these are all, I can't say this is for everybody. The reason I'm throwing out various and numerous examples is because you can all relate with one or two of these at least, and to give you some ideas. So then it's you who's going to have to ask yourself, how about that? How about this? How about the other? I'm not giving you a comprehensive list of all the things you ought to try and do. These are all just simply inspirations. I'm trying to inspire you to think about some of the things that you may be addicted to. If there's a way you brush your hair, you comb your hair, see if you can comb it some other way. And if it makes you uncomfortable, you should try that, sir. I'm okay with anything. So I know how you feel. Right? So ladies, if you always wear a hairband, right? See if you can go without one. How does that make you feel? if it's getting in the way, that's another thing, right? Then it becomes an inconvenience. But let's say your hair always gets in the way, and now you have to move your hair out of the way, right? Out of your forehead, away of your out of your forehead. Physically, yes, there's an inconvenience. But if it gets upsetting, if it becomes an annoyance, now there's a problem. Because that shouldn't bother you. Well, breathing doesn't bother you, does it? Only because you know there's nothing you can do about it. So what if the hair bands didn't exist? Now hair is always getting in your way. And as you walk, it's always brushing in your face, right? And so you always have to keep putting it to a side. Physically, yes, I get that. It's an inconvenience. But try it out once in a while to see if it becomes a mental annoyance. If it becomes an annoyance, then that's something that is keeping you from attaining your nirvana. Because then it's going to bring out dvesha. It will bring out feelings of sentiments of anger which you didn't know you had. Good things to check. In the classroom, do you have to sit in a certain seat? Are you okay to switch? Are you particular about which friend you sit next to? Your classmate? Does it have to be a particular person? What if you from once in a while go and sit next to somebody else? See how that makes you feel. Because it just may be that the next day this classmate doesn't turn up anyway. That was the last day at school. Now what are you going to do? Not go to school again? Now you're going to have to sit next to somebody else. So I'm saying, try sitting next to somebody else and see how that makes you feel. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, hey, guess what? You're attached. And you just didn't know it. These are all symptoms of the disease of attachment. I'm trying to show you various symptoms so you can pick. You can watch out for these symptoms. You can watch out for these symptoms. The air freshener you have in your car or in the bathroom, do you always get the same one? Does it have to be sandalwood always? Check. Ask yourself. No, I'm not saying, leave the bathroom pungent with pungent smells. That's not what I'm saying. Get an air freshener, that's fine. Because, there are other people who come in, societally it's wrong to have pungent smells and people don't like that. But if it's only your bathroom, then no one else uses it. Or if it's just the family, and everyone in the family is keen on trying to figure out what defilements they have, you should be able to get by without an air freshener. Because ultimately, it's just a smell. It's just a smell. These can all be addictions. Some people use mothballs, right? When they fold their clothes and put it in the cupboard, and people have all sorts of excuses. It's to keep, the insects away and so forth. Okay, that I understand. But sometimes it can become an addiction. You have to have mothballs, otherwise you don't fall asleep that night. It can become an addiction. So, what I'm saying is, whenever you do something, from time to time, stop and ask yourself, am I doing this because it has to be done, or am I doing it because I have now become addicted to it? What if this changed? What if mothballs, they stopped making mothballs? Remember what I said the other day? Some time ago I said, you have to give up either by inspiration or by desperation. Right now I'm inspiring you. One day it's going to be desperation. Letting go will happen either by inspiration or desperation. When it has to happen through desperation, it's going to become very painful. Some people, they will not eat unless they have their knives and forks and, the cutlery. In Sri Lanka, as you know, it's quite customary for us to use our hands when we eat food. But some people, they just don't like it. They will insist on cutlery being available. And people can come with all sorts of reasons. Swaminatha, it's not hygienic to use your fingers to eat food. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying, see if you're addicted. That's the point I'm trying to get across. Eat with cutlery all you like. All I'm saying is, if you're addicted to it, now we have a problem. Now, what if cutlery weren't invented? Now you'd have to use your fingers anyway. Well, that you can check, can't you? Of course, using cutlery, one has to get used to using it. That's one aspect to it. But see, again, that's a really good point, madam. Sometimes in life, to do things, we have to learn things, right? Like even using cutlery is something we have to learn. I had to learn how to use cutlery. See if you can learn it without any resentment towards it. It's like Guru Hamdullah said yesterday at one of the sermons, at the sermon yesterday, a guy has to learn Korean. The mindset with which he will go to the class, he will go to take his instruction, it depends on whether he is being forced to do it or if he wants to go to Korea. So now he wants to do it. If you are forced to do it and wants to do it and want to do it, the way you approach it is going to be very different. Let's say you wanted to go to the States, and a requirement that they're going to have for all people is to be able to eat with cutlery. Now, I'll be fine learning it. Why? Because I want to go to States, and they're going to check at the airport whether you can eat with cutlery. This is, I'm just picking out a random example. And then this guy's okay with that. But when asked to learn something, if you have some kind of resentment, why should I learn that? Why should I? I don't want to. Now it could be a defilement. It could be. Because physical discomfort is one, physical inconvenience is one, but the mental discomfort, the mental inconvenience which comes with that, the annoyance that comes with that, and the annoyance that you feel when you have been asked to do something that you don't like to do, that will show you that you are addicted to something else. If you are asked to do something and you don't like to do it, when it's not an unmeritorious deed, it may be that you are addicted, that you are attached to not doing it. Because you have my way. This is my way. My way is using my fingers to eat. I shall not eat with utensils. Or my way is using utensils to eat, using the spoon and the fork and the knife to eat, and I will not eat with my fingers. That's my way. And this can manifest in lots of different ways. Some people, other things you can do to check your addictions, right? Some people, the first thing they do when they wake up in the morning is check their Facebook, check their phone, messages, missed calls, right? There could be lots of reasons for this. It may be that your work requires you to immediately respond to certain things immediately as you wake up. That could be one reason. But if it's simply to get your kick in the morning, how do you get the kick? Well, let me show you. As you wake up, you're reminded of your phone, and now you go into vexation. Might I have some messages? Might someone have sent me a message or rung me while I was asleep? That's a vexation of wanting to know, wanting to find out. So now you go into vex state, pick up the phone, it answers all those questions, and then relieve from vexation. That makes you feel good. That makes you feel good. And when that makes you feel good, now it becomes an addiction. This is how people have become addicted to checking their phones first thing in the morning. Don't you know people who do that? Where do they live? In the mirror? Some people, they can't even wait for the bus without taking their phones out and checking their messages. Going on WhatsApp, just checking on Facebook. Addictions. Here's a challenge for you. I dare you. If you're a Facebook user, How about go a week without Facebook? No, I didn't say go jump off a cliff. Why do you look like that's what I said? Challenge. Yes, ma'am.
So do you stop doing it? I mean, or do you do it and get your mind to, not just Facebook, what I'm asking is these habits. Do you force it, or do you actually get the mind to be smart and realize I need to do enough and then it drops off? What's the best practice?
Sure. So the reason I'm asking you to do these things is for you to check for yourself if you have a problem.
So that's a test.
That's a test. If you find that you are suffering mentally, if you start to experience withdrawal symptoms, essentially, right? If you are starting to experience withdrawal symptoms, now you know I was attached. Now you know that you have to apply anicca dukkha anatta there. Because otherwise people come and tell me, Swamina, anicca dukkha anatta, what must I do? I get anicca dukkha anatta, yeah, but what must I do? So people come up to me as if, they're not attached to anything. The way they talk to me, I feel like, geez, you've got to be on this seat and I've got to be taking advice from you. You should see all the clowns I get to talk to every day. I didn't mean to insult anyone, I'm just saying, I'm just talking about our monks, okay? Not you, monks. Dasahandra is always like that. I can insult him all I like as his teacher. So, these things I suggest to you so that you can find out things you're attached to. And I'm never going to tell Dasahandra, try and not watch TV to see how it works out for you. But I'm going to tell him things like, use a different fan when you go to a sermon. Why do you always use this one? Take a different one. See how that makes you feel. And if you always have sugar with your tea, try it without sugar. See how that makes you feel. Just a suggestion might think, yeah, I'm going to be fine with that. But try it. Then you will know. Without trying it, you're just going to be, you're going to sound like a hero. Yeah, I can. But try it. Then you will know what a coward you are. I want to bring out the devil that lives inside of you. Because I want you to realize who you are. I want to help you. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you to bring out the defilements in you. So that once you've gotten the Dhamma, now you know how to and where to apply it. Because I can only teach you the Dhamma and in terms of how to apply it. I can teach you what the Dhamma is and I can teach you how to apply it. But where to apply it, this is what I'm helping you figure out for yourselves. Because the things I'm attached to are not the things that you're attached to. You're all individual. You're all unique. What's unique about you is the raga, dvesha, moha that each of you possesses. That's what's unique about you on your RDM scale. That's what's unique about you. So to help figure out what you're attached to, the way you're attached to, these are some of the things you can do. If you always write, in most parts of the world, you take a notebook, an exercise book, you write left to right, right? In Arabic countries, it's the other way around. So you start from writing from right to left and you keep turning the pages that way. See if you can try that once in a while. Try it out. See how that makes you feel. Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Not writing right to left, the line, because that wouldn't make sense. I'm just saying the pages. Start at the end of the page and then start writing all the way up to the beginning of the book. See how that makes you feel. Turn the pages the other way. Try it out. Just, really random things, right? I'm just throwing out random things at you. I don't have a list here, by the way, just so you know. I don't have a list here. I'm just throwing out random things.
Is that for anuloma?
What's that?
No, anuloma and patiloma, is that to get that kind of thing?
So this is to essentially to one, help you figure out habits, and really to figure out where you're attached to. So anuloma and patiloma, what you're talking about there, ma'am, is yeah. So that's about when you have. So the Buddha says, my teaching is neither anuloma nor patiloma. So he says it's neither going with the flow nor against the flow. It's none of these. Because going with the flow is where you feel the vexation and relieving yourself from vexation. That is anuloma. Patiloma is feeling vexation, but not doing anything about it and just being patient with it. I won't. This is Kama Sukallikana Yoga and Atta Kilamatana Yoga. You feel the pain, you feel the vexation, but I won't do anything about it. I'm just going to bear the pain. I'm going to be brave about the pain, not cry. That's patiloma. Anuloma is, I'll just go with the flow. The Buddha's teaching is neither of these. His teaching is to find the cause of the pain and eradicate the cause. Then it's neither anuloma nor patiloma. So, with what I'm suggesting here, these are all ideas to help you figure out things you're attached to. Either things or experiences which bring you pleasure, or by breaking those habits, making a shift in your daily rhythms, your daily routines, you'll be able to figure out pain points. This is what we call withdrawal symptoms. You're going to start to experience them. This is why I said, if you're a Facebook addict, go a fortnight without Facebook and see how that makes you feel. Here's another one, right? You see a message on your phone, right? And there's an alert that comes on your phone. See how long you can go without checking the message. Because the moment it flashes up on your phone and you can see the light flash, the light blinking, right? You got a new message. You got a new message. It is hugely vexing, isn't it? You almost want to pick the phone up immediately and check it. And have you not experienced this while you're driving? Right? Your phone goes beep beep. Why do people get into so many car accidents? Road traffic accidents, because they just can't wait. Because the pleasure of checking the message and therefore the relief of vexation that they feel is so strong that in that moment of delight they forget that actually they're driving a car. Because the appeal of the pleasure is just so strong. So that they can't even get the right sense to park or pull up and then check the message. Now I used to do this in my own life. Message comes, I was like, okay, I'm going to see how long I can wait before I check my message. I did it. It made me feel so good. The fact that I could wait without checking it. The fact that I could wait without checking it made me feel so good. Because I realized that I'm able to break that addiction. Because it used to be I couldn't. The moment my phone buzzed, the moment my phone vibrated, I had to pull out my phone and check what message it was. Who had rung? Who had texted me? What's that message? I had to check it. What's the alert? I had to check it. It was an addiction that I had. And this is how I broke it. So first I needed to convince myself that it was an addiction. And for that, this is how I tested myself. And then I applied the Dhamma. But if you don't know what you're attached to, well, how do you know where to apply the medicine? If you don't know where your rashes are, well, there's no point in me giving you an ointment. You don't know where to apply it. These are all pain points in your life. Things that you didn't even know existed. When you brush your teeth, see if you always brush in a certain way. Does it have to be the right jaw before the left? Can you not start the other way? See, check. These are things you can do to test yourself. Random, right? I don't know where that came from. It's just random. Just random stuff. Are you addicted to a particular type of soap? It has to be that brand. I won't use anything else but that brand. Perfume, yeah. These are all addictions. I'm not saying don't use perfume. Please do. I beg of you. Right? Please do. But check if you're addicted to it. If you're addicted to a particular type of perfume, a particular scent, then, there's a problem there. And it matters not how expensive it is. I'm not saying, break the habit because it's more expensive, go and buy something cheaper. That's not the point I'm trying to get across to you. Hopefully you can understand that. The point I'm trying to get across to you, it doesn't matter how expensive it is. If you're addicted to it, you're suffering. That is the problem. That is the problem. Some people have to have a cup of tea before they go to bed at night. Some people have to. Some people have to have a midnight snack before they sleep. Some people have to. They have to read up on the gossip. Check. Ask yourself if you have these addictions and start addressing them. Come up with a plan. Come up with a plan. Because without a plan, you're not getting anywhere. Make a list of all these things. The people who came to the meditation program, I said, make a list of the raga, dvesha, moha that you have. Make a list of your addictions. Whenever you find one, jot it down. Because guess what? These are your obstacles to your own salvation. It's not your next door neighbor. That's your biggest salvation. It's not your husband nor your wife. That is your biggest obstacle to your salvation. The things you're addicted to, the attachments in your mind, these are your addictions. Gents, once you've had a shave, right? Do you find yourself feeling your skin just to see if you missed any spots? And when you do find one, what do you do the rest of the day? Keep rubbing your fingers over it. Have you never asked yourself why I do that? It's because it makes you feel good. That change in sensation, right? When you move your fingers from a bit of smooth skin to a bit of rough skin, that change is not the roughness, it's the change in sensation. You're picking up sensations. Vedana. Right? You're attached to that. So if you find yourself doing it, and I usually advise our monks, because we always have to shave our heads and our faces and so on. Right? If I find a monk going like this all the time, I say, Swaminatha, what are you doing? I just missed that bit over there. Okay, well then, go and shave yourself. Why are you doing that? And I remind them, it's a defilement. Because what good is it doing just to rub your hand over it? It makes you feel good, well then there's a problem. Some people, from the moment they sit down, they start shaking their legs, right? Rocking their legs from the moment they sit down. They just don't know they're doing it. It's a habit. Sometimes they don't even know. Addicted. Why? Because this is Vedana. Sensations. Constantly the mind is being fed of sensations. Vedana upadana. Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankar Vinyan Upadan. So you have to break them. So if you have that habit, be mindful first. Then realize, hey, geez, I didn't know I was rocking my legs. Thank goodness Swaminatha mentioned it. Now I'm going to stop it. I'm going to stop it and see if it's going to make me feel uncomfortable. Well, what's the point of doing it anyway? Is that your exercise? Someone might say, well, Swaminatha, that is my exercise. I don't go to the gym. This is my exercise. I just keep rocking my legs all day. That burns about 1,000 calories. Fair dues, right? Okay, I get that. Fair enough. But if that is not your purpose, you're just doing it because you didn't even know you were doing it. Well, we have a problem now. For some, it's biting their fingernails. When some people get stressed, what do they do? They start biting their fingernails. How does biting fingernails help relieve one of stress? It doesn't. It doesn't. The only thing is, they do feel pleasure because you want to break that bit of nail off, right? So that becomes a vexation. I want to bite it off. So you say start chewing on a nail. You want to bite it off. So now you're attached to that. Okay? And then you start chewing on it. You start biting on it. And then when it breaks off, that gives you a good feeling. See how, I want you to start to look at where you're getting your kicks from. These are all kicks. This is where you go for your kicks. So it's not always the bar. If you thought, well, my husband, he's always going to the bar, but you're biting your fingernails, well, you're both just as bad as each other. Because you're both getting your kicks. The only thing is, they're from different sources. I don't want to overwhelm you. Please don't misunderstand me. What I'm saying is, I'm giving an example, because not all of you will have all of these things. These are only ideas. So you can, I'm sure most of you here will have been able to relate to maybe one of them at least. One of the ones I gave you, right? So these are examples, because I don't have a categorical list of all the things you're attached to. But what I want you to do is take time to ask yourself, here's one, what else might I have? What else, what are other addictions that I might have? Now go looking for them and then write them down. Seriously, write them down. And then work through them, one by one. Chances are, once you started working through a few, the rest will immediately stop, without you having to do anything about it. Why? That's because you're attacking these aggregates, the boxes, not individual ones. You're attacking entire boxes. What boxes are we talking about? Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana boxes. Did you have a question, madam? Attached to? Ayakala, yeah. Well, if you don't, then I have to say you have become an arahant. It's only an arahant who will be able to say that I have no particular liking for a color. Because we're talking about rupa, right? Kamaraga is removed. One of the sanyojanas, one of the fetters is removed once you become an anagami. But then from that point forward, you still have rupa raga and arupa raga. So rupa raga is to do with sounds and sights, and that will only be eliminated at the point of becoming an arahant. There are anagamis who reveled at the sight of the Buddha. That made them so happy. They would stare at the Buddha because the sight of him made them feel so joyful. Isn't that also a rupa? So they are attached to the sight of the Buddha. It could be a Buddha statue, it could be a picture of him. That's also an attachment. So the only thing you need to do is to continue to apply anicca dukkha anatta on rupa, vedana, sanya, sankara, vijnana. This is why I say we need to attack those boxes. The camps, if you like. Entire camp, not individual soldiers. Right? This is a battle between our army and the enemy. We need to be attacking the camps. There are 5 camps. Rupa camp, Vedana camp, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana camp. Within these camps are soldiers. And these soldiers of the opposite army are specific individual Rupas, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So for example, if you can see what's on this table right now. To put it in really simple terms, okay? This is one Rupa. It's not really. There's a trillion Rupas about this. But let's take this as one. Here's another one. Here's another one. And the beetle leaves, that's another one. The fan, that's another one. These twigs, that's another one. These leaves, another one. The vase, that's another one. The glass, that's another one. So if you were to go through each of these items one by one, you'll never be done. This is why we put them all into one camp. That's when you call them the aggregates, skandha. Rupa skandha. All of the rupas put into one camp. Now you attack the camp. Not individual soldiers. So not individually reflect on anicca dukkha anatta of this flower. Not individually reflect on the anicca dukkha anatta of this device here. It's to consider that all of these are rupa. There's all of it. The entire world broken up into 5 camps. You get Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. There's nothing that's outside of these camps. So all of the enemies are in one of these camps. So when you attack the camp, then every soldier in the camp is attacked. That's the way to go about this. So yes, you can still see color, and you might think, there's a particular color that I like. Do you not like to listen to the Dhamma? Well, that is also an attachment. That's also an attachment. That's also a Rupa. It could be Shabda Rupa, it could be Dhamma Rupa. So if it's a particular voice that you like to listen to, that's Shabda Rupa. Right? Let's say there's a particular monk whose sermons you like to listen to because of his voice. Coming from that voice, it makes you want to listen to it more than if the same sermon was preached by someone else. Now it's the sound that you're attached to. There's a Shabda Rupa. But if it's the point that is being discussed and that's what you're attached to, right? That's the Dhamma Rupa. Ultimately, it's all Rupa. So when you attack these enemies, you need to attack Rupa as an aggregate, as a whole. That's how you need to attack it. But as a beginner, to begin with this exercise, we take a few examples. So you can start with this flower. That's perfectly fine. You start with the flower and start to analyze this. Ultimately it's just Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. So if you were here in the last few weeks, we went through the diagram showing how everything in this world is ultimately sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. Right? And from all of these senses, what we perceive, what the mind perceives is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. And the nature of all Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana is that it's vexatious, sufferable and essenceless. Right? So you can now start to take examples and check, does this make sense? Does it apply to this Rupa? What about the other Rupa? Does it apply to that? What about this Rupa? Does it apply to that? Once you worked out a few sums, you begin to realize, well, they're all the same. They're all the same. And then all you have to do is continue your practice until eventually, the attachment and the clinging that you have to all of Rupa is gone. That'll happen eventually. That happens with time. All we need to worry about is our practice. If the practice is right, the result will most certainly come to us.
So is it wrong to listen to one Swami Maha's sermon, say, listen to only the sermons of the Swami Maha's in Visa, or are we supposed to listen to sermons of everyone that just comes out?
No, I'm talking about attachment, madam. Sure.
It doesn't, I can't comprehend it.
Sure.
It doesn't fit me.
Sure.
So is that wrong?
No, I can't say that's wrong. At the same time, I can't say you have to listen to my sermons or anyone's sermons in particular.
What I mean is, I have been listening to sermons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I started listening to the sermons of the Swami Maha's it made sense. Sort of gave me some, like, this is what I have been looking for. So now I confine my listening to those sermons.
No, that's not wrong. Because what you've done there is you've found. Let me put it this way, right? When the Buddha spoke of Nirvana, and when he came and gave his teaching, he gave a total of 84,000 discourses. Each one of them speaks of Nibbana. So why did he give 84,000? He could have just given one. The reason he expounded 84,000 sutras was because each one is different. How you understand it is not going to be how the lady next to you understands it. It's not going to be how the gentleman next to her understands it. Everyone will understand it, the same concepts, but expounded in a different way because they have different examples, different experiences, different similes, different metaphors. This is why when I talk to you, I bring lots of different similes, examples and metaphors because these are things that you can relate to. Right? So for example, if I was speaking to a congregation of devas, right, say you're all gods, the examples I'd be using would be very different. Because there's no point talking to you about cars and dogs and cows and, right? There's no point in talking to you about these things because these are not things you can relate to. Because you're all human beings and you all live normal lives, right? Natural lives. Therefore, I'm able to bring you examples of such things. So, when the Buddha would go and speak to fire worshippers, he would use the example of a fire and talk to them about anicca dukkha anatta in terms of applying it to the fire and therefore helping them relate to it better. If the Buddha would go and speak to potters, that was their profession, then he would give the same teaching, but using different sutra. And in that sutra, generally the differences were the examples and the metaphors and the similes that were used, which made more sense to them because they're able to relate it. Right? So therefore, I think what you're saying, madam, is when you listen to these sermons, you're able to apply this Dhamma into your life, and you're experiencing that it tallies with what life has taught you thus far. Experiences that you've had in your life, and the things that you have picked up along the way.
I always say, Swami Maharaj, that the person that if I come out with this is not what I'm looking for. This is not what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm wrong. But when I listen to the sermons here, it struck me, this is what I am looking for.
Yeah, and then at the same time, there are people who come here, listen to sermons, and they decide this is not what I was looking for.
So it's not wrong for me?
No, it's neither right nor wrong.
No, I mean it's not an addiction.
No. I wouldn't say it that way, because ultimately, this is why I say, check before you get on that bus. What is your purpose, right? Oftentimes I say this, and I'll say it to you also, and I'm sure I've said this to you before. I don't want any of you to become my followers. Right? You need to be students, not a follower. A student is someone who will always analyze. Whatever they hear, they will analyze it with an analytical mind. Does this make sense? And that is exactly what you're doing, and this is why you're saying this makes sense now. You're analyzing it, putting it into your life examples. Does this work? He's saying it, yes. Because remember, being genuine and being truthful are not one and the same. Or being sincere and being truthful are not one and the same. I'll be sincere with you, but if what I'm saying is true or not, that has to be tested separately. That has to be tested by putting into and applying into your life examples. Because I could be sincerely wrong. I'm sincere, but what I'm saying is wrong. Right? So sincerity and truthfulness are not one and the same thing. So this is why, if you're a student, go and find a sincere teacher. But as a student, you won't become a follower of his or hers. What you will do is you will take what is being taught, apply it into your life, analyze it. This is what Yoniso Manasikara is. Putting it into your life examples, putting it into your life experiences, and checking, does this make sense? Does this hold water? Is it making sense? And then when you begin to realize, this is all fitting, this is all making sense, then you are able to accept it not because of your teacher. Now you're able to accept it because it makes sense. And if you have found someone who you believe speaks the Dhamma that you can relate to, that doesn't mean now you can become a follower. You should always be a student. So it may be what I'm teaching, what I'm talking to you now makes sense to you, and you say, everything he says, that makes sense. But what if one day I say something, it doesn't make sense? And you still accept it. It doesn't make sense to you, or you will simply accept it because you have now faith in me. Never fall into that place. Always be a student. Trust, but always verify. You can trust, but always verify. Verification is something you have to do by comparing what you have heard with the truth that you have experienced in your own life. So it's okay to find a set of sermons or a teacher whose sermons you constantly and confine yourself to listening, and that's perfectly fine. And I think Guru Hamdra talked about this yesterday in his sermon. And the best example I can give you of this, again just to help make sense, is if you go to one chef, right, and you ask him, I want to make a certain curry, can you give me instructions? He'll say, yeah, sure, write it down. So he starts giving out his recipe. Okay, so the recipe is, let's say, 2 sheets long on his book. So he starts reading it out to you. So you write 1 page of it, and then you have to go somewhere. Something comes up, and you go somewhere, and then the next day you come in, and then you are met with another chef. He says, right, what did you want? How to make that curry? Oh, right, I can give you my recipe. So you wrote down the first page from the first guy. Now you're taking down the second page from the second guy. Chances are, this is going to be a mess. Why? Because the first guy's recipe, at the end of the first page, he added too much salt. So in the second page, he does something to his curry to counterbalance the too much saltiness. But the second guy, he had too much spice, not salt. So what he's doing is adding something else to balance out the spiciness. Now in your recipe, you're doing a mix and match. It's not going to match. It's simply going to be a mix bit of the two. And you're going to end up with something that is too salty and not enough spice. This is the problem with having too many teachers. So pick one teacher, and then, like, remember I talked about the T-shape? Be a T-shaped person. Put your hand up if you were here at the sermon yesterday. Okay, so let me remind you of it. Can you see the screen? It'll help make sense if I draw it out to you. And it's a great question, because this is a problem that a lot of people have. When do I stop looking for the Dhamma? Because there are lots of teachers out there. There are lots of people who give sermons, both lay and clergy. So as I was saying, there are lots of teachers out there, and it may be that they're all right. They're all correct in their teaching, and they're all speaking the Buddha's Dhamma. But they're all teaching it the way they understood it. Right? So some will be talking about Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Another teacher might specialize in Paticcasamuppada. Another teacher might specialize in skandha or maybe in ayatana, right? And the other might specialize in dhatu. These are all ways to look at the same problem. You can solve the same problem in lots of different ways. So once you've found a teacher and it's starting to make sense, then what I say is follow that teaching without going looking for lots of different teachings, because then what's going to happen is you're going to take a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of the other, mix it all together, and then it's going to just be a jumble. Right? So this is why I say be a T person. Can you see the screen now? Oh. This is the shape of a T, right? The reason I say be a T person is because you specialize in one. Each of these points on the horizontal line are various ways of looking at the same problem. What you need to do is pick one and start delving down that path, as I've shown out here. What most people do is they do this. I'm going to try this out for a week, try this out for another 2 weeks, I'm going to do this for about a month and give up. I can't be bothered. Do this for another 2 weeks, do this for about another 3 weeks and I can't be bothered, right? And then just keep going like this. So now they know a bit of Paticcasamuppada, they know a bit of skandha, they know a bit of ayatana, they know a bit of this, they know a bit of that, they know a bit of everything. Ultimately, let's just say, jack of all trades and king of none, or master of none. This is what can happen. So instead of being that kind of person, just pick one teacher and then follow that all the way through. Because the game here is to get to this point. This point here. That's the end game. It doesn't matter which path you take, you can always get to the end. But most people spend far too much time trying to walk down different avenues, and they don't follow any of them through to the end. It does not matter which path you've come down. All of these paths will ultimately get you to one goal. But you just have to continue with the same one until the end. That is what matters. This is why we say, pick one teacher, pick one teaching, and then follow that through, all the way to the end. Because once you've gotten here, now do you need to go back and try another one? No. What most people do is, they go down lots of different paths, and then halfway through, they lose their enthusiasm. Sometimes the teacher has lost their way, right? Sometimes the student can't be bothered anymore. Other priorities come into their lives, and then they just give up. And then what they say is, no, it doesn't work. Which is a very wrong thing to say. Because now what happens is, it discourages someone else who might also be on that path. Which is very wrong to say that. So if something didn't work out for you, never say, that doesn't work. Just say, it didn't work for me. That's how you ought to say it. It didn't work for me, not it doesn't work. Because when you say it doesn't work, someone else who might have considered walking down that path might now be discouraged. And it may be that for them, that path is going to work. But because of you, they decided they weren't going to bother. So be a T person. Pick one and then follow it right through to the end. But throughout this journey, as I say, never be a follower. Right? And none of these points should you be a follower. Throughout this journey, be a student. So keep your options open, in that at any point, if you begin to realize this is not making sense. What he said before was anicca dukkha anatta, now he's saying nitya sukha atta. Now you have to run. Now go and find another teacher. Don't go down that route any further. If ever there comes a day I start talking about nitya sukha atta, or I say, unmeritorious deeds, little bit is okay. Don't do too much, little bit, okay. Run. Don't hang around, run. Because what I said before and what I say now, they don't tally. Doesn't make sense. So, of course, first come and ask me, challenge me. So, you said this that day, why are you saying something different now? Because it may be, I need to come into my own senses. You'll be doing me a favor by doing that. So, I said, that day you said anicca dukkha anatta, today you're saying nitya sukha atta. Why is that? I just don't understand it. Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Now I realize I've made a mistake, and at least I can correct myself, and I can speak to everyone I spoke to, and I said, folks, I got it wrong. I got it wrong. Right? So maybe you need to go and find a new teacher now. But I got it wrong, so please discredit or disregard everything I said up until this point or after this point. Now go and find another teacher, because I'm not suitable to give you instruction from here on. But how many people have the decency or the modesty to do that? Isn't it? Yes.
As we progress, we could be wrong. We could have said something like, could we get a deeper realization? And now we could be right, but it doesn't. Now the latter instruction may be right. But it could have been wrong before.
Mm-hmm.
The teachings to some degree can be followed. So doesn't that happen as and when you become an arahant or not?
You mean the one giving the instruction, madam?
So as you get more and more wisdom,
Yeah.
as you get, because you are blinded by your defilement,
Sure.
you don't at maybe an earlier stage you could have said something wrong, but your story may change. So at that time also, we shouldn't run away.
Yeah.
Discuss.
That's what I said. So before you run away, have the decency to come and inform me that what you said before didn't make sense, or what you're saying now doesn't make sense, so can you please check if we are on the right track? So, we are on a bus, now the driver starts taking a detour. It's well within your rights to go and, do that anyway? When the driver takes a different route, hey, Reduru Mahatya, you don't speak like that, do you? Mokadoi me At least, you go and ask him, excuse me, I thought we were going to take this route. Why are we going down that route? Right? You ask the driver. And then the driver might have a perfectly reasonable response to that. Well, there's a roadblock up ahead. Oh, right, okay, I didn't realize. Where is this going to take me? It's going to take you exactly where you want to go, madam, don't you worry, because they have a replacement bus somewhere or something like that. So, perfectly fine response. Or it may be that the driver has fallen asleep. So you wake up, driver, why are we going this way? Oh, so I didn't realize I'd fallen asleep. Now you're not only saving your life, but also the life of a lot of other people. So as you say, madam, it may be that, later down the line, to the latter part of the journey, what you're saying can be more true than what was said earlier. It's more accurate, rather than more true, I suppose, more accurate, more precise than what was said earlier. But this is why you should always be a student. If ever, this is my appeal to you, right? If ever you feel or you sense that what I'm teaching you is incorrect, if ever you sense that something's wrong in what I'm talking to you, this is why I have given you the opportunity to ask questions also. You're lucky in that, this is a small gathering. So if this was a large gathering, we wouldn't be able to do this. So, from time to time, I give you the opportunity to ask questions when it doesn't disrupt the flow. So, I ask of you, if ever you spot that something doesn't make sense, something doesn't seem right, what I said earlier does not add up to what I'm saying now, then please do come and point it out to me. Because after all, if I'm talking, like I said, I will be sincere. But what if I'm sincerely wrong? Then you are doing me a favor. You are doing me a great favor by pointing out to me, Swaminathan, stop. What you are saying doesn't make sense. Because one, I'm going down the wrong route, and two, I'm driving everyone else down the wrong track as well, and can be a massive disaster. This is why you always have to be a what? A student. Because a student will always analytically examine what the teacher says. Not yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. Always analytically contemplate and reflect on what the teacher teaches you. And that's the reason you should do that is not to find faults with the teacher. That's the wrong reason. The reason you should do that is the only way you will be able to comprehend this. Otherwise it's just knowledge. If you just listen to what I say, take down notes, that's just knowledge. But it's when you apply it into your lives, when you really test it against the experiences that you've had, that's when it starts to become your own, that's when you start to internalize it. And that's very important. So do it for that reason. Not to find faults with the teacher, but do it for that reason. But whenever you find that things don't add up, things don't tally, right? It doesn't hold water, then I ask of you, please come up and speak to me. Because if I'm on the wrong track, then I need help. Does that make sense? And will you all promise me to do that? Yes? Good. Otherwise, you're being disloyal to me, one, and you're doing me great harm. You're being ungrateful for all the sermons that I've done so far for you. You're being ungrateful if you see that I'm going down the wrong track. You don't come and point it out to me, then you're being ungrateful to me. Please don't do that. Let's recap what we talked about last week. Okay? So, do you have plenty of examples now to apply this into your own lives? Right? I've talked about lots of examples. So I want to remind you of what it is that you need to now apply into those examples. Okay? I'm going to go blind otherwise. I'm still attached to sights. That's the problem. So let's recap what we talked about last week. So then you know what to apply once you have done these examples, or these tests at home. Now I want to show you how to apply the Dhamma. Are we not able to get PowerPoint on this? We do it on Saturday. Oh. Okay. So who was not here last week? Quite a few. Okay. So very quickly, I'll go over the stuff you're familiar with quickly, just so we have somewhere to start. We know we have our 5 senses, right? Our eyes, our ears, nose, tongue, and body. And from these, we receive sights, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. But you know now that the mind cannot perceive them in this form. So the mind needs to convert them into a form that it can understand, or encode it. And that encoding is Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. This is what the mind understands. So you have the brain here, which converts what comes from the outside world to the mind. So all of this is the mind. This here is the outside world. And the conversion that happens between these two. So if you take an example of, let's say, a flower. We know that a flower has rupa. So it's got a sight. So as in this, what it looks like, what it sounds like. What does a flower sound like? What does it sound like? Well, it doesn't have a sound in its own, but if you rub it next to your ear, then you get some sort of sound, okay? Papadam has all of this. I should start using that as an example instead of flowers, I think, because it's easy to relate to. And it has a smell of a flower, has a taste. Don't know what it tastes like, but it does have a taste, I imagine. And of course you can feel it. So it's got sight, sound, smells, taste, and touch. But the mind does not perceive this. The mind can only understand Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana. And we've talked about what these are in the past, so I'm not going to go over it again. But one point I'll remind you again. The reason we talk about Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana is because they arise and pass away with the mind. Whereas this does not arise and pass away at the rate the mind does. So for one to think that attachment to a flower can bring you suffering, well, you're going to have to wait a long time before you start suffering if you're attached to the flower. Because if someone says, well, what if this dies? When is this going to die? It's probably going to outlive you. Isn't it? It's a plastic flower. It's probably going to outlive you. If you made it out of iron or gold or diamonds, then it's going to be long here after the suns and the stars and the moons have come and gone, right? So, but when we talk about Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, Vijnana, their lifespan is the length of time of a chitta, which is a thought moment. So your mind arises and passes away, like in this fashion. So this is the arising, this is the passing away. Arising, passing away, arising, passing away, like the waves in the ocean. And this happens so fast that you can't really sense it happening. It's so fast. Like the bulb here, it's flashing, flickering at 60 times a second. This is why you see like it's just on. Have you seen sometimes when they show a TV on TV? When they show a TV on TV, you can see the lines going. That's because the second screen is not in sync. They don't resonate for those physicists. But all that's happening is these two frequencies, they don't tally. They're not the same. So therefore, you're beginning to see that there's an arising and a passing away, essentially. So that's what's going on here. Now, this Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, they arise in the mind, along with the mind, and they pass away with the mind. So the arising and the passing away happens with the mind. Of what? Of what? What happens with the mind's arising? The arising of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Okay? So the mind is attached to the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So the mind is attached to these things. How do we know that? Or rather, why is the mind attached to these things? Because? Yes, because the mind believes that they are pleasurable, essential. And what is that? Worthy of existence. Woeful. So how do we know we are attached to this? Well, we are attached to the flower, aren't we? You like the flower. But when you say you like the flower, it's actually the mind that likes the flower, but we know that the mind doesn't see the flower, so there must be something that the mind is attached to, and that something is the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. That's the way the mind speaks about the flower. Okay, how does the mind speak about this? Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. And this? How about your mother? Still Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. No matter what the mind talks about, it's the language of the mind, essentially. So the mind is only going to speak in that language. It's not going to speak in any other language. Now, this is Nicca, Sukha, Atta. In Pali, Ashvada, Sapa, Sara in Sinhala. Okay? And pleasurable, joyful and essential in English. I don't know what they are in other languages. When we accept that pleasurable, joyful and essential are attributes of Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana, we come to the conclusion that they are worthy of existence. In other words, this is where attachment happens. They are worthy of existence, so it's worthwhile existing in order to experience this Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. So it's like it's worthy going to the party because my friend's coming. It's worthy going to the party because they're giving out free food. Right? People do that, right? Likewise, it's worthy of existence. It's good to hang around. Why? Well, because there's pleasure to be had. And that pleasure, we believe, comes from the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. It's good to hang around because there's joy to be had. And that joy comes from Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. That is our belief. It's not true, but that is our belief. And therefore, it's full of essence. It's worthwhile. But this is all Micchaditti, wrong views. Because of this wrong view, we end up attaching ourselves to Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana. Now the problem is, whatever you attach to, it doesn't matter whether you attach to or not, the mind is indifferent to it. When the mind arises and passes away, it takes along with it everything you've attached to. Like time. The time doesn't care what you're attached to or what you're not attached to, right? It takes away what? Everything. Does it only take away the things you're not attached to? No, it takes away everything. Time takes away everything. So, the arising and passing away of the mind is the same because it takes away everything. It doesn't matter whether you're attached to it or not. So when Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana come and take seat in the mind, when the mind passes away, the Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankara Vijnana pass away along with it. The problem is, you're attached to it. So now what you're losing is something you're attached to. Now can you stop losing it? No. If you're attached to it, well, you will lose it. in a very different sense of the word. You say he's lost it. What do we mean by that? He's gone mad. He's lost it. Right? So, if you are attached to something you are losing, then you will lose it. Lose what now? The mind. You will lose it. You lose your mind. So, the only way you can be happy then is to rid the mind of attachment before the losing happens. That is why when that Putta came and spoke to me in the morning, I said, Putta, if you are attached to your family, that is why you should be here. If it makes you feel sad that you are away from your family, if it makes you feel sad that you are away from your friends, if it makes you feel sad that you are away from your sisters and your brothers, that is why you should be here. If you weren't, well, you need not be here. Because what we teach you here is how to remove these wrong views from the mind. All of this. This is what we teach. How to get rid of this. This is the problem. The belief that this world is pleasurable. That is the problem. Because the real nature of them is not that they are pleasurable. How can they be pleasurable? Pleasure is simply what? What is pleasure? Is the relief from suffering. Very good. Or vexation. Either one is fine. This is what pleasure, this is how we define pleasure. It's the relief from suffering. And we have talked about this plenty of times, so I don't think I need to go into examples again. Right? Pleasure is the relief from suffering, relief from vexation. Be that physical or mental, pleasure is always relief from vexation. So what is pleasure not? If it's relief from vexation, if that's what pleasure is, what is pleasure not? What is pleasure not? Something you get from Rupa. Right? What is pleasure? Relief from vexation. What is pleasure not? Something you get from what? Okay, I'm drawing out a crossword. One across. Pleasure is. What's the answer? Relief from vexation. One down. Pleasure. This is what pleasure is not. What? Yeah. Not found in Rupa. Not found in Vedana. Not found in Sanya. Not found in Sankhara. Not found in Vijnana. So we are looking for something that does not exist. When will you find a bull? When will you find a dog with horns? If you look, where will you find a dog with horns? In which country? No, they don't exist. So you won't find them. You won't find them. Or a rat with antlers? You won't find them. Because they don't exist. So likewise, you're never going to find Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana. Or you're never going to find pleasure in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana. You're never going to find joy in Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana or in associating with them. You can't find it there. It's simply in the relief from vexation. So then the problem there is, this is where we talked about the two kinds of suffering, right? We asked all of you, what was your purpose in life? And everyone said, Swaminathan said, we all want to be happy. This is what you all want to be. Happy. So what's keeping you from being happy? This is what you are at the moment. This is what you want to be. Right? So then we said there are two types of this. One is the suffering or the sadness that you experience, and the other, realize. This happens through Vedana or feeling, and this happens through wisdom. Panya. That's why I say when you get wisdom teeth, right? Have you all of you got them? So are you very wise now? Premature, huh? Those wisdom teeth, they're premature. You should be getting them about now. Really. It's about now you should start getting them, your wisdom teeth. Because until this time, until you realized the Dhamma, until you came across the Dhamma, you went trying to fix this problem of experiencing suffering. So how does experiencing suffering work? Oh, this is when I need a new sheet. Right. So let's ask ourselves, how do we feel happy? How do we feel happy in our lives? First, you need to want something. First, you need to want something. Then, you need to go about doing all the things to acquire what you want. Right? To find it. To acquire. This is an activity. It's mental, it's physical, it's verbal. Either you have to think something, you have to say something, or you have to do something. One of these three things you have to do. To acquire what you want. And then when you find it, when you ultimately find what you want, that makes you feel good. Don't find it. How does that make you feel? Sad. You want something, then you do something to find it. When you find it, you feel happy. You want something, you do something to find it, but you don't find it. Now you feel sad. Isn't this how we always experienced happiness and sadness in life? Yes. You wanted a car, you wanted a toy, a real car, toy car. The principle is the same. Adults wanted a big real car. Kids wanted toy car. But they were both happy at the end. How it all started was first you wanted it. Then either you went and pleaded with your parents, or the wife pleaded with the husband pleaded with the wife, and then they went and pleaded with the bank manager, right? And then they went and pleaded with the car salesman, and then eventually they got what they wanted, and then that brought you happiness. You couldn't get the loan. Wife says no, husband says no. Now you can't get what you want, and that makes you feel sad. But that never fixed the problem of wanting. Because how do we know that? Even if you find it, if this breaks, you still want it. So you want another one. If a newer model comes out, you want that one. So finding what you want is never going to fix the problem of wanting. You will always want. Like I said at the beginning, are you not all accomplished people in your lives? You all go well-to-do, right? You're well-off people, you've got lots of things. So, by now, you probably have more things than 80% of people in this country have. So now you don't want anything else? Is there nothing you want now in your lives? Have you got everything you want? No, you still want stuff. So wanting is never ending. There's always going to be something else you want. Right? You go to there's the Chinese in town, best Chinese ever. You go there every day, or once a week, once a month. You go to that Chinese. New Chinese opens in town. Do you not want to go try that out too? Well, how come? The previous Chinese you went, that's the best in town. That was good. The food was good. No, it was clean, healthy, right? All of that good stuff. So why do you want to try the new one? Just in case. Just in case this is better. So does that not say you're always looking? You're always looking. That's because you always want. So the fact that you have found what you want does not mean you no longer want. You'll always want. You always want. It's not going to fix that. And if you don't find it, well, that's obvious. You'll still want. You still want. So for as long as you will want, you have to do the things to acquire it. This is what we call abhisankara. Oh, should be careful instead of writing in Sinhala. Abhisankara, which is threefold, either through mind, speech, or bodily action, right? Threefold. Give me some examples of abhisankara you do. If you do that. Remember the list? You said the things you love to do. Do you want me to remind you? Going to work? You said you love to do it, remember? 2 weeks ago you said, I love to go to work. I remember. Did you not say that? I love to go to work. I love to go to school. I love to do my homework. I love to cook. I heard some of you say, I love to clean. So this is all abhisankara. Things that you have to do to get what you want. Because, you can't just sit on your backside expecting that things will turn up one day. It doesn't work like that. You have to do something. Even if you go into the heavens, Paranimita Vasavarti, which is the highest heaven realm there is, even there, the reason that they receive things they want is because they've done the deeds previously. They've done the good deeds in the past, and as a result of that, now they're able to reap the fruits of their labor. So even there, they don't get things for free. So really, there is no such thing as a free lunch. I know it's so cliche, but that is the truth. There is no such thing as a free lunch. You don't get a free lunch anywhere. Okay? So that's abhisankara. So the Buddha's teaching then is to deal with one of these two problems. This is one problem. This is the other problem. Now, as you know, this is what we call pleasure. So, you told me a moment ago that pleasure was relief from vexation, relief from suffering, which tells us that then wanting is also suffering. Right? When you're waiting for something, it's your birthday tomorrow, and you know there's a gift wrapped up, it's in the mother's cupboard, top shelf, you can't reach it. Do you not want to find out what it is? Christmas is tomorrow, there's a Christmas tree, all the gifts laid down at the foot of the Christmas tree, and you know there's plenty with your name on it, but you can't go and touch them until tomorrow morning. How does that make you feel? Vexation. You're waiting to collect someone from the airport, a loved one. You're waiting, arrivals, checking what time is the flight, or at the railway station, waiting for a call from someone, waiting for the delivery guy from Pizza Hut, right? Each of these are examples of waiting for something that you want. So the moment you wanted something was the moment you started vexing. How did that make you feel? Unhappy.
How about wanting to attain Nibbana?
Good one. How about wanting to attain Nibbana? So people can vex even for the desire to attain Nibbana. People can vex on behalf of that also. This is why we always tell you, you've got to be very patient with Nibbana. Because there is what is called a chande, or it's one of this irdipada, and I still haven't didn't find the occasion to go and find the English term for this. I have to, note to self. I promised you last week I'll find it, but I forgot to do it. It's called chande, which the Buddha says is something you have to have, the wanting to attain nirvana, without which you can't do this. But that wanting comes out of, so this is a wanting not for anything material. It's not for something material. It's for something that is, yes, but it's for something that is not conditioned. So it's something that, see, again, you need to do kusala sankara, but this wanting is to end all wantings. The desire to attain nirvana is to end all desires, whereas every other desire is not to end all desires. The more you desire, the more you will want to desire. The more you have, the more you will want to have. But when the desire for nirvana comes in your mind, this is the desire to end all desires, which is also wanting, absolutely. And one can start to vex for nirvana. Right? I want to sit down for meditation, I want to attain nirvana, but I can't focus my mind, and then people start vexing about it. Because now they're starting to go down the wrong track. Even the wanting for this nirvana, you need to realize that now you have defined nirvana as being rupa vedana sanya sankara vijnana, and you have defined that it's worthy of existence because it's pleasurable, joyful and essenceless, right? Because that's your interpretation of nirvana, and now towards that you start doing abhisankara, and whenever you feel like you are now able to focus your mind on something, then you start to feel pleasure, and so on and so forth. So it's very subtle, the difference between wanting for material things and the wanting to attain nirvana. But wanting to attain nirvana is absolutely something you must have if you want to attain nirvana. That goes without saying, right? Wanting to attain nirvana is something you must have if you want to attain nirvana, of course. But one the Buddha says is one you must have, and the other the Buddha says is one you need to be able to give up. So this is the wanting to end all wantings. In fact, in one sutra, a deva comes and asks the Buddha, you talk about letting go, and you talk about exerting the body, mind, and all of these things as being suffering, right? So why then do you instruct your monks to labor and toil and work hard towards attaining nirvana? One of the devas come and challenges the Buddha. So at which point the Buddha's response is, yes, I do get my monks to be diligent about their practice, to strive towards their goal, but that is because this is the ultimate goal. Once you've achieved this, there is no further exertion that is required. This is the final exertion. This is the final leg of the journey. Once you've gone this journey, that's the end of all journeys. Go on this journey so you have no other journey to go on. That is the difference between the wanting for other things versus the wanting for nirvana. So, the fact that you experience pleasure here, again, coming back to this, is the relief from vexation that happened when you wanted. Now, the things that we learned growing up in school, and the other experiences that we had in life is to fix this problem. How do we transfer from didn't find to found it? This is, you said, going back to the old example, I want to buy myself a car. I don't have money. So now, go and earn some money. And when you earn some money, now you can go from didn't find to found it. Or don't have it to have it. So really the things we did in life was to shift from don't have to have. I suppose that's the better way to put this. Actually, I'm not going to bother. Just read this as have it and don't have it. Okay? So, why do we go through education? Yeah. Exactly. To get to a better place, to have a better lifestyle, to have a good job so you can have more money, to have bigger house, all these material things. So again, right now we don't have, therefore we go through the schooling system, we go through education so that we can go from don't have to have. So this shift is what the world talks of. More money helps you do this. Right? Better education helps you do this. Being connected to people of authority helps you do this, your connections. Facebook helps you do this. Going from don't have to have. Everything worldly helps you go from don't have to have. So for that you need people. People say that, right? You need to know the right people to get to the right places. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know, right? I'm sure you've heard of these things. Why? Because when you know the right people, they can help you shift from don't have to have. True, it's also right in the sense of nirvana, your salvation. It's not necessarily about what you know, it's about who you know. Because first you need to get to know the right people. You need the Satpurusha Sevana, the association of noble ones. Because they are who will teach you what you need to know. So it's who you know that matters. Even when it comes to your salvation. First you need to figure out the right people. You need to find the right people. They will teach you what you need to know. Once you've gotten their association, now you will know what you need to know. And really, what that teaching is to eradicate the mind of the wanting. Not eradicate the mind, rather, eradicate the wanting, eradicate desire from the mind. Because when this is gone, now it doesn't matter whether you have it or you don't have it. Now it doesn't matter. Because you have fixed the problem at the root. So now let me go back to some of the examples we talked at the beginning before we conclude. So in the afternoon, the first half of the session, I gave you some examples of things you have in your life, and I told you, this is how you can go and check for defilements that you might have. One of the examples was the plate, right? So if you're used to eating your meals on a particular plate, this is the one piece of cutlery that you must always have with you. That is the wanting. So let's say you go to get your meals, and your son has taken your plate and he's served himself in your plate. Now you want your plate, but you can't have it because your son has taken it. So what you need to do now is to do something to have it, to shift from don't have to have. You can do it in one of several ways. One, you can ask him nicely, Buddha, please can I have my plate? Two, you can ask him even more nicely, Buddha, are you going to give me my plate or not? Three, you can ask him even more nicely. And you know how. It's how you normally do it. That's how. I don't need to teach you the obvious, right? You know how. That's the even nicer way of asking. Okay? Ultimately, all you want to do is shift from not having to having. And if he's not willing to give you your plate, then you can go and buy a new plate and say, okay, you can keep it, I'm going to buy a new one. So from now on, this is my plate. So don't you touch my plate. This is why you needed money. See, you needed to go to the shop to buy the plate. You need a vehicle to get to the shop. You need somewhere to keep your plates. Right? So the moment you want something, there's a whole system that has to come into place to maintain it and sustain it. Just look at your life, for instance. There's an entire system that has been put in place to keep you alive, for your sustenance, for your maintenance, right? Right from your wardrobe to your just your house. Every room in your house, the purpose of which is your sustenance, is not? Is your maintenance. Your living room, so you can go and sit down, watch TV, entertain your friends, right? Have dinners, have parties. Now this is what your living room's for. Bedroom, so you can rest. You can get a nap, you can sleep, and so on. Bathroom, so you can go and relieve yourself. Wash yourself, right? Wash your clothes and things like that. Kitchen, so you can cook for yourself. One house. So many rooms for the maintenance of one person. Just think about it. This is a pyramid. To sustain one person, you need so many different things. And then each of those things that you bring in, they also have to be maintained. You bought a car because you wanted to go places. Then what happened? Now you have to maintain your car. Then you have to get yourself a chauffeur. Right? Then you have to go and get it taxed. To get it taxed, you need money. To get it serviced, you need to go to the right places. You need to get the right service people. And if you've got a driver, you have a house and you have a maid, now you need to go and find the right people so they can do the jobs. Now you need to find someone to keep an eye on the maid so that they don't go sticky fingers in your wardrobes and in your drawers and things like that, right? See, when you have one thing that you need to protect, one thing you need to look after, an entire system has to be put in place for that. An entire system. Now it's like if you wanted to build a small room, just a small room, so someone can be in there. You still need to put the foundation. You still need to pull up the 4 walls. It still needs a door, at least one window, and it needs a roof. Right? It doesn't matter how small the room is, you still have the basics that have to be put in. The necessities always have to go in. So whether it's one person or 2 people, right, you will always need these things that have to be put together for its maintenance. So the more things you have in life, the more things that you need in your life, the more things that you will have to protect, the more things you will have to look after. This is why when you can learn to become content, learning to be content is to have less wanting, have less desire, less things that keep you happy. To be able to live a simple life. The less you want, the more happy you can be. The less you desire, the happier you can be. I used to have a wardrobe full of clothes. Today I only have 2 sets of robes. We used to have plates, cupboards full of plates and cutlery and all sorts of things. Today I simply have my arms bow. So if I need to leave today and go somewhere else, all I have to do is, I've got my robe on me. The other set of robes get folded, put in my arms bowl. I've got a bag I carry it in, and that's me. When you move home, it's just as easy, isn't it? You have to ring the movers, right? In my life, I think I've moved about 3 times. And each time was more painful than the last. Because every single time, there was more things that builded, that we collected, hoarding. We people, we don't like to throw things away also, right? We always like to keep it just in case. Just in case. Old shopping bags, just in case. Old newspapers, just in case. The only problem is that in case never comes. This is our mentality, because we never want to find ourselves in a position where we want something and we don't have it. Because what we know is that it's painful. Therefore, we never want to find ourselves where we want something and we don't have it. Think about your garages, like gentlemen, your cars, your garages, right? All those things you remove from your cars, they all go to a side, never gets thrown away. The old bits of the car removed and put to a side. Wires, these water tubes and all these hardware things you have at home, everything gets put to a side, never thrown away. You don't like to throw things away. Hoarding. Why? Because when we want it, we never want to find ourselves in a situation where we don't have it. Because we can't bear that pain. That's not where the problem is. The problem is wanting. Because once you fix the wanting problem, now, that's the only life where one can be content. That's a simple life. That's a happy life. And the only way to not want something is to realize that the very thing you want is the thing that's going to bring you suffering. When you realize that, you will no longer want it. If I am attached to this, I shall suffer because of this. Just think about, if I'm attached to this, now I always have to keep an eye on this. What if one of you will want to take this from me? Then I have to protect it. Now I have to put it in a drawer, lock it. Then get a security guard to always keep an eye on it. Use a CCTV camera to keep an eye on the security guard. Right? All these things you have to do. And then get myself a phone so I can get alerts on my security camera. Right? Intruder alarm, phone going off. Then I have to pay the phone bill. Do you see where it all started? With this. And then when you look at it, take the bigger picture, I've spent more money looking after this than actually what this is worth. Ultimately, what is this worth? When everything's done and gone, when everything's gone, what's the expression? When everything is done and dusted, what is it all worth? Nothing. Remember, you're protecting all this until after that, it's worth nothing. So you're protecting today something that one day is not going to be worth anything. Wow. Everything you protect today is someday going to be worth nothing to you. I'm not talking about the other guy. I'm not talking about you. Today you're protecting your house. One day it's going to be worth nothing. Because you're not going to be around. Today you've taken out an insurance plan to look after your jewelry. You lock it up in safes. So much pain, so much fear that you have, so much worry you have to look after all these things. But all for nothing, because one day it's going to be worth absolutely nothing. An arahant is someone who realizes that. He realizes it such that today he gives the same value that one day you all have to give it. So he's able to bring the future to the present. He realizes one day, this is all going to be worth nothing anyway. So I might as well come to that conclusion now. Because after all the money you spend, all the heartache, all the headaches that you have to put into maintaining and protecting and keeping all these things safe is just going to be a waste. Because one day it's worth nothing. Isn't it? Your children, one day, to you, worth nothing. The business and the empire that you have built for yourself is one day worth nothing. All the dollars in your bank accounts is one day going to be worth nothing. All the gold in all the safes that you have, all the land that you have throughout the country, all the houses you have in all parts of the world, one day is going to be worth nothing. To you it's going to be worth nothing. That day you're going to look back and you're going to regret. That is my fear for you. One day you're going to regret. I realized I was going to regret. 2 years ago I realized I'm going to regret. Therefore I changed my life around. I realized that one day I'm going to look back. When I'm on my deathbed, I'm going to look back and decide and think to myself, geez, my life I spent looking after all these things, which in the next hour is going to be worth nothing to me. Why did I bother? What was I doing? What was I thinking? I could have done something better with my life. I realized that 2 years ago. I'm asking you, when are you going to realize that? Very good, madam. Sadhu, sadhu. I want you all to do something worthwhile with your lives, folks. I want you to start to see sense. I want you all genuinely from the bottom of my heart to enjoy the bliss that I enjoy today. Being fearless, being worryless, being carefree, being full of joy, being full of happiness. Without a fear, without a worry in the world. After all, isn't that why we came into this world? To be happy. Why do we burden ourselves? Why do we burden ourselves unnecessarily? Why do we carry all these loads on our shoulders when we know one day you're only going to have to put it down? Well, why not put it down now? You're doing it anyway. And after all things, at the end of the day, when you look back on yourself, you came into this world with nothing, and you're leaving this world with nothing. Displacement? 0. Distance travelled? 1,000,000 kilometers. Yes or no? Yes. Distance travelled 1,000,000 kilometers or 1,000,000 miles. Displacement? 0. What matters at the end of the day is the displacement. Came in with nothing, leaving with nothing. Be free, folks. When you have the chance, be free. Enjoy your life for what it's worth. Today you have the teaching. Before long, this is going to be gone. And just think about your parents. They came into this world at the wrong time. My parents, my grandparents, they came in at the wrong time. My parents are too stuck up in their own ways because they have too many of the my ways. For their own good, they struggle to realize this. My grandparents, they didn't even get to hear this. Now they're too old. No matter how much I tried, it's not going to make sense to them. So they came in at the wrong time. In a few years' time, again we are going to have to say the same thing. Your children's children will come into this world at the wrong time. So really, the time that is left to do this is a very short period of time. And you are so all extremely lucky. Wow. Because you have timed it perfectly. Hats off to you. You have timed it perfectly. You came in at just the right time. Just the right time. Don't waste a single moment of that time. Don't waste a single second. Don't waste a single day. This is why I say, have a plan. All those defilements that you know you have within yourselves, have a plan to free your mind of those defilements. You can't do this without a plan, I tell you. You can't do it without a plan. You can't do this without a timetable. Come up with a timetable. As a monk, maybe you could get by without having a timetable, because your whole life now is with the Dhamma. So really you have no choice. And provided your teacher is with you, your teacher is always going to be on your back going, hey, what are you doing? Get up. Go meditate. Why not listen to the Dhamma? What are you doing? Who do you have at home who is always doing that for you? Who do you have at the workplace who is always kicking up you the backside saying, what are you doing now? Go and listen to the Dhamma. Go and meditate. There's no one doing that for you. Everyone's saying, why are you sleeping? Go and earn some money. Haven't you done your exams yet? Go and do that. Why haven't you cooked yet? Cook. This is what people are saying. So this is why I say, come up with a timetable. Take charge of your life. Take charge of your life. You decide how you want to live it from now on. Don't let other people decide that for you. Because if you don't have a plan, you fall into someone else's plan. You've got to have a plan. A good, solid plan. The plan, and hopefully the last plan you will ever need. A plan to end all plans. Let's do it. For as long as we are here, we'll help you. Let's do it. Work towards that goal with that resolve. Help as many people as you can along the way. But never sacrifice your goal on behalf of theirs. Help them. But never sacrifice. Don't stop and say, I'll wait until you come. No. Because when you say, I'll wait until you come, what you're proving to them is that he's not serious about it, so surely it can't be all that. But when you say, hey, you know what? I ain't got time to mess around. Here's what I'm doing. You can come if you want, but I'm not hanging around. Now he realizes, good Lord, he must be something. This must be something serious. This is probably why he doesn't have time to hang around. He wants to do this. He wants to do it so seriously that he can't even hang around until I come and catch up with him. So I better hurry up. Be diligent. Don't wait around for others. I know you have families, right? And everyone else in the family may not want this as much as you do. And I get that all day, every day. A lot of you will come, here or other places, they'll come and say, Swaminathan, I want to do it, my husband doesn't. I want to do it, my wife doesn't. I want to do it, my children don't. Fine. This is not the first time you've become a wife. This is not the first time you've been a husband or a child or a daughter or a son or a mother. Right? You've done this so many times in samsara. You can't be responsible for everybody. First, be responsible for yourself. Take charge of your life. Because if everyone else doesn't want to save themselves, well, you have to save yourself. You can't be punished for other people's foolishness. That's not fair. Do this for yourselves. When you start to walk the path, others will begin to see what a free person you've become. What a liberated person you've become. And then they will want to do the same for themselves. Show by example. So start off by becoming a better wife, a better husband, a better mother, a better father. This is where the true test of if you've taken in the Dhamma will really matter, or will really show. You can't be mean like you used to be. You can't get angry like you used to be. You can't be the one who always wants the last word. These are things that you will have to show by changing yourself. You have to become a more endearing person at home. You have to become more approachable to people at home, to your employees, to your employers, right? You have to become more approachable. You have to become soft in your character. You have to be able to give freely, without expectation. You have to be able to apologize with humility and humbleness. These are the KPIs. These are your indicators. If you can't apologize, even when it's not your fault, you still have a long way to go. You have to be able to apologize even when it's not your fault. You're angry. I'm sorry that you're angry. I'm sorry if I may have done anything that hurt your feelings. What have you lost by saying that? Absolutely nothing. If there may have been anything that I said that hurt your feelings, I'm extremely sorry. Please forgive me. I didn't mean to do it. Please forgive me. Not, I didn't do it. Why should I apologize? You did it. You say sorry first. Then I'll say sorry. No, be the first to say sorry. Be the first to apologize. And be the last to expect a thank you. But most of the time, people want to be the first to hear an apology, and they'll be the last to say thank you. Be the other way around. Don't expect a thank you, but be thankful. Don't expect apologies, but be apologetic. Have integrity in your character. Be a good person to hang around with. Be a gentle person. Be a kind person. You can do it. I'm telling you, how I've changed today, the reason I've changed today is because of the Dhamma. I wasn't who I am today. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I'm not who I am today. I'm not. That much I can tell you. I am not who I am today. Therefore, I know that this Dhamma works. This medicine works. I know it firsthand. Therefore, I can prescribe it to you without fear and with conviction. This works. This stuff really works. You've got to try it. And it tastes so good. So finger-licking good. You've got to try it. It's the best. Okay. So did you understand all of that today? I've given you some things to do at home then. Go and look at yourselves, look at how you live your day-to-day lives, right? Your routines, your habits. Try and pick out things you're addicted to, you're attached to, and then apply the Dhamma. Write down the list, come up with a plan. If you're addicted to drinking, smoking, right? All of these things, the same thing. Just put it on a plan and start working on it. And when we continue these discussions, we'll continue to talk about all of these things. I'll give you the medicine, I'll give you the prescriptions, but you have to take the drugs. You have to take the pills. I'm not at home to check if you're doing it. That you have to do. And if you have another noble companion at home, well, you're really lucky. If you have a good friend, you're really lucky. I know some of you, you speak to each other and you keep each other company, right? You have associations outside of this place. So great, when you meet each other, give them that noble companionship, because chances are that's the only noble person they're ever going to meet throughout the week. Husbands and wives, they come together. Parents and children come here together. And that's great. You don't realize how lucky you are to have that kind of connection at home or at the workplace or as a friend. Just to have that, it's incredibly fortunate. For a husband to have a wife who is also keen on doing this, he's a lucky man. For a child to have a mother who is also keen on this as much as he or she is, that's an incredibly fortunate child. Because now they both want to do this. They'll always be in check. I mustn't do this because Ammi is looking. I mustn't do this because my wife is looking, my husband's looking. And not to criticize. But true to my conscience, I can't do this. That's a great thing to have. It's a real strength to have someone with you. So this is what we try to give here to you at the monastery. So again, my final words, as I said at the beginning, ask yourself why you get on that bus. You should only come here if you miss your family. You should come here if the loss of a friend will make you feel sad. If reminding about your loved ones jerks a tear, these are reasons to come here. If you sense pleasure in this world, come here. If you want peace of mind, come here. If you want to talk to me about your achievements and all the gold awards that you won, all the colors on your shoulder, save that for somebody else. Because I just don't have the time for it. Not yet. One day I might. I'll tell you then. When everything's done and dusted, I go, right, that's it, job's done. Now we can talk all we like. Until then, my time is precious, and so should yours be. Okay. So we chant the Ari Maitri, and we'll bring the sermon to a close. I think it's in English today. Yes. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of birth, freed from the fire of decay, freed from the fire of illness, freed from the fire of death, freed from the fire of sorrow, freed from the fire of lamentation, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fire of suffering, freed from the fire of discontentment, freed from the fire of exhaustion, freed from the fire of disappointment, freed from the fire of clinging on to the five aggregates, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the suffering of samsara, freed from the disease of samsara, freed from the fear of samsara, freed from the flames of samsara, freed from the fire of samsara, freed from the sorrow of samsara, freed from the lust of samsara, freed from the clutches of samsara, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, healed with the ultimate bliss of Nibbana. The karma worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the karma worlds. The rupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the rupa worlds. The arupa worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from the arupa worlds. All worlds are in despair. May I and all beings be freed from all the worlds. Nibbana is the only salvation. May all beings attain May all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May all beings attain Nibbana. Letting go is the only salvation. May I and all beings let go. Detachment is the only salvation. May I and all beings be detached. Being freed is the only salvation. May I and all beings be freed. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. Nibbana is the only salvation. May I and all beings attain Nibbana. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the bondage of lust, freed from the bondage of aversion, freed from the bondage of delusion, freed from the bondage of Mara, healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana, 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 healed with the eternal bliss of Nibbana. Okay. Let's all take a moment to transfer the merits that we have all acquired today. First and foremost, let us once again remind ourselves that it is because of the Supreme Buddha, the perfectly enlightened one, the magnificent one, the infinitely virtuous one, that we have the gift of Dhamma today. It is because he sacrificed himself, or many countless births in samsara, towards the liberation of all sentient beings, including you and I, that we have the gift of Dhamma today. Let us also pass on the merits that we have all acquired today to the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhuni, Upasak, Upasikas, who since time immemorial and having received the teaching from the Buddha, passed it down through the generations all the way down to us. It is because of them and thanks to them that today we have the Tripitaka which we can study, understand, analyze and comprehend. And we have his teaching in its pristine form. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. And in this moment, let us also transfer these merits to all the monks who are resident at this monastery, including Guru Hamdran Vahanse, as well as all the other monks, as well as all the members of the Mahasangha who are resident in your local temples and in the Silmanian Vahanses, in your local nunneries. Although you have come along to this monastery today to listen to the Dhamma and perhaps offer alms and so on and so forth, do not forget for a single moment that it is the Mahasangha who are resident local to you, who have always been by your side through rain and shine, in the tough times and the difficult times, and it is they who have always been a support to you, your families. Let us not forget that, let us not be ungrateful towards that. Let us pass on the merits that we have all acquired to all of them. May all of them rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and may through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, may they be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unwholesome deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer merits to all the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons and the dead. All of our ancestors, all those who have predeceased us, in whatever capacity they might have connected with us in this infinitely long journey in samsara, be it by offering us a glass of water, or perhaps by guiding us, showing us the path, helping us when we were down, putting us and pulling us back together in the tough times and difficult times. Whatever help, support or assistance they might have offered to us, may they be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unwholesome deeds, fulfill the wholesome deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to all those men and women who might have lost their lives in the long and bloody wars that we have had in Sri Lanka. All the members of the armed forces as well as members of the police force who sacrificed their lives towards protecting the peace and harmony of this country. It is thanks to them that today you and I are able to live in a country in which we can practice the path and be at peace with one another and in harmony with each other. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today. Let us also transfer merits to all those men and women and children who might have lost their lives in natural calamities such as the tsunamis, hailstorms, earthquakes, and so on and so forth, not just in Sri Lanka but also in other parts of the world. Many of them may have been friends, many of them may have been families, not just in this birth but also in previous births. So bearing the fact that each and every one of them will at one point or at some point in samsara be a mother to me, be a father to me, let us pass on the merits that we have all acquired to them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plains, be able to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plains. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unwholesome deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer all these merits to everyone who might have helped make this event a success, either by inviting you to be here today, providing you with transport facilities, or perhaps by making your stay here as comfortable as it could be, including the monks at the monastery as well as the anagarikas who on a daily basis provide that kind of support to all the people who come and visit this monastery. Let us transfer merits to anyone and everyone who might have offered you to a seat, or perhaps by given you a glass of water, or perhaps by provided you with a refreshment at the end of the sermon, or perhaps at the beginning, as well as those who are involved in promoting the Dhamma and promoting these sermons to other people and getting the message out there that the Buddha's teaching is still prevalent, is still available in its pristine condition, as well as transcribing these sermons for the consumption of those people who are unable to receive these teachings through the medium of sound. May they all be able to rejoice in the merits that we have all acquired today, and may through the power of these merits they all be able to abstain from the unwholesome deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the course of all the merits that we have all acquired today, by listening to this sermon, by preaching this sermon, and by engaging in various and numerous meritorious deeds throughout the time that you have spent here, in preparing to come here, and in helping others to be here and make the most of the time that they have spent here, may these merits empower and energize all men and women just like yourselves throughout the world who have dedicated their lives to practicing the path and teaching the path to other people, and may through them we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Vahanses and Arahat Mehenin Vahanses in this blessed land, in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may you and I, and everyone who has contributed in whatever capacity, however small or large it may be, to make this event a success, to help you receive the Dhamma today, to help you find your salvation today, be able to become one of those Arahatun Vahanses, become one of those Arahat Mehenin Vahanses in this life itself and the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The members of the Mahasangha will now transfer their blessings to you. Raga ginnen midetva, desha ginnen midetva, moha ginnen midetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva, Nibbana parama sukhayen sukhita taravetva, Mamada සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්වයෝ නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා. නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා. නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා. තුනුරුවන්ගේ සූවිසි අනන්ත මහා ගුණ බැලෙන් සියලු ලෝක සියලු සත්වයෝම නිබ්බාන පරම සුඛයෙන් සුඛිතතර වෙත්වා. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of desire. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of aversion. May I and all beings in all worlds be freed from the fires of delusion. May I and all beings in all worlds attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May the noble triple gem be with you all forever. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.